Chapter 1: Tragedy of the Dragon. Long, long ago, when humanity began, there were the dragons, and they existed even before then. The dragons were a mighty and powerful race, all ruled under the legendary dragon guardians, the most powerful of all dragons and considered the protectors of their respective elements. The dragon guardians left the realm a long time ago, allowing their souls to move throughout the astral plane while the rest of the dragons lived amongst humanity. Some clans were left behind that were devoted to the dragons, continuing the tradition of honoring them past many, many generations despite the race dying out, with many going all the way to modern society in secret. Quirks then appeared and humanity changed, now being able to fight and become heroes in order to fight villains and defend the public with their powers. It soon became a dream of many people. Some were not able to achieve this dream, others gave up and move on with their lives. But one gained the power of achieving that great dream, one unseen. A power long forgotten and long since used again, coming back. The ancient power of the Dragon King, a legendary hero. This was the story of its return and its rise. This is the story of his rise to number one. This was the story of the dragon hero. Izuku Midoriya sat in front of the corpse of his deceased mother with tears falling down his face. His father had already left and now his mom was dead. He couldn't even save with how weak he was. He didn't have very many options to pick from. His best friend wouldn't even allow his family to take him in because of his lack of quirk. His family might take him in, but does he want to risk constant bullying from Bakugo? No, he doesn't. He had no other family members to speak of, considering both of his parents were only children and he has no grandparents to speak of. They were either dead before he was born or never mentioned. And because of this, he was just alone, all alone. A villain had killed her because she was once a lawyer, and she had convicted him. That villain somehow got his revenge, and now the young boy was all alone with no one left to help him anymore. Poor kid. An injustice had occurred upon him because of one's sick desires. If only he had the power to fight. Izuku heard a soft male voice say. He looked around confused and slightly afraid. What is going on? Who's talking? He asked, afraid. The kid doesn't seem to know who we are. Is our kind really not known anymore amongst most humans? A stoic male voice asked. I think the kid might be able to bring our name back with those clans. A gruff male voice said. I agree. This boy is a perfect candidate to make a contract with. A soothing female voice. Agreed, dear sister. An energetic female voice said. A contract? Izuku asked. His eyes suddenly turned white as he went into the landscape within his mind, which is a light green. There he saw large dragons all around him. All of them were different colors. Red, blue, brown, green, white, black, and yellow. Seems kinda weak to me, said the red dragon gruffly. Even the weak can become strong with enough time, the blue dragon declared. We should probably explain what's going on to the kid, said the brown dragon. Izuku was so confused. What was going on? What are they talking about? Why was he here? All of that and more was running circles around his head. Midoriya, Izuku, we have brought you here to offer you a deal, the yellow dragon said. What's the deal? Izuku asked, confused. The deal is that you sign a contract with us, we give you our power and you honor the power of the dragons. And you must honor an oath of the Dragon King. The white dragon said. Oh, what's the oath? Izuku asked, making sure to know what he's getting into. His mom had always taught him to be careful about what deals you get into before you accept them. You might get trapped in it otherwise. She's seen it happen plenty of times, and that's why she told that to him. In hindsight, that was a pretty good idea. Smart kid, asking before he jumps into this. The oath is that you use your power to help those who need it. You do not defile those of any kind. You do not kill for pleasure or for fun. And you hold the pride of a mighty dragon in your heart. The red dragon explained. Very well. I accept, Izuku said, pushing aside his nervous attitude. Kids growing bold. Midoriya Izuku, you will renounce your old name and replace it with ours. You are now Ryuken Izuku, are the Dragon King. Izuku then felt his hair color change from green to plain black. A bright red dragon symbol appeared on his right hand. His eyes turned red before turning back into a dark green. He looked at the dragons confused. "Who are you guys?" he asked. The fire dragon stepped forward. "I am the dragon guardian of flames, Kane," he said with a gruff voice. The blue dragon stepped forward soon after. "I am the dragon guardian of water, Leviathan," she said in a soothing voice. The green dragon came forward. "I am the dragon guardian of air, Nanakes," she said energetically. The brown dragon stepped up. "I am the dragon guardian of earth, Gyo," he said in a boisterous tone. The white dragon walked up. "I am the dragon guardian of light, Tengaku," she said softly. The black dragon then stepped up. "I am the dragon guardian of shadow, Daku," he said in a stoic tone. The yellow dragon came up last. "I am the dragon guardian of energy, Meiho," she said elegantly. Izuku smiled and raised a hand to the energy dragon. "Nice to meet all of you," he said happily. Meiho had smiled at this and managed to shake his hand with the tip of her claw. "It is nice to meet you too," she said. Izuku came out of the landscape of his mind and saw his mother's corpse again. He wanted to cry, but he knew that wouldn't do any good anymore, call it instinct. He then got up and left his apartment's broken door. It was very expensive. All the more reason the guy was a dick. He saw the full moon in the sky above him. The faint sounds of crickets were in the distance. It definitely was summertime. And it's also the time he'll be leaving his home at. "What do I do now?" he asked aloud. "First, kid, you need to get out of here. This city ain't gonna any good for your training. There's a nearby forest you can stay in. You'll train there for 4 years until you go out and see one of the clans that served us. You'll be 8 by the time that happens," Kane said. "Oh, okay, sensei," Izuku said simply. He went back inside, packed a whole bunch of clothes, some of his All Might items, and he left while leaving a note explaining what happened to him. He may have been 4 years old, but he knew this was the best thing to do. He had no choice but to leave now. Later, Izuku was in the forest, his suitcase being dragged slightly behind him. He was tired and exhausted. "We'll be arriving at your new training location soon," Moho said. "Wait, what is this training location like?" he asked them. He can communicate with them through his mind as it turns out, so now he won't sound like a crazy person when talking to the dragons within him. He then stopped as he saw the mouth of a large cave. "We have arrived," Gyo said in his usual boisterous tone. Izuku walked in and saw it was a fairly large cave. He then was in an interconnected cavern with a few large straw nests. "These are the dragon grounds. You are the only one that can see our ancient living place as you are the Dragon King," Daku explained. "Oh, I live here now?" Izuku asked. "Yeah, kid, but I ain't gonna go easy on your training, so don't complain once we start. Ya hear?" Kane said. Izuku nodded at this. He then went into one of the straw nests and fell asleep soon after. He's had a long day and he was tired. Bakugo was livid when he heard that Izuku was gone. Sure, his Aunt Inko was dead, but Izuku, his Deku, was gone. He disappeared, or rather, ran away. That raised some questions in him. Why didn't he go to him? Why did he leave a note behind instead of saying goodbye? Why did he do this? What happened to him? Is he okay? Is he safe? He went to the funeral, not because his mom told him to, but he needed to respect the corpse of someone he tried to care about. It would have been wrong for him not to. He may have bullied Izuku, but that was his own sick way of protecting him, oddly enough. That way of protection, was it truly warranted? Did he need to do it? What is the right thing to do? He has so many regrets right now, all washing over him in grief and sadness. He's currently sitting in the car with his parents as they drove home from the funeral. Izuku had disappeared around a week ago, which means that for a week, Deku had fallen off the face of the planet. His mom looked at him with a worried look. "Katsuki, I know you cared about him a lot, but the police are trying their best to find him," Mitsuki said in a slightly tired tone. "Mom, did I try to protect Izuku?" he asked quietly. "Yes. But the way you did it was a bit mean, wasn't it?" Mitsuki asked slightly incredulously. Bakugo looked at his hands. He realized he had hurt him so many times despite trying to protect him with those hands. Was that something All Might would do? No, it wasn't, and it was so wrong of him to do. "Mom, is it right for teachers to praise me for my quirk while ignoring the fact a quirkless kid was being bullied by someone?" Bakugo asked, unsure of himself. "No, no, it is not. Why do you ask?" Mitsuki asked, confused. "I think my teachers ignored the dash. Izuku, being bullied," Bakugo admitted shamefully. "We'll discuss this later, we need rest." "Today was exhausting for everyone," Mitsuki said simply. Bakugo nodded quietly and looked back at his hands. He remembered all the times he hurt Izuku. And yet, no matter what, he would just stand up and keep dreaming to be a hero despite how dangerous it was since he was quirkless. He didn't want him getting hurt. He admits that now. If you asked him before, he would probably say something about Deku being below him, but that feels sickening. Wrong. He's not this great person, he's not this great hero. He was a jerk to others who didn't deserve it. He needs to change for the better or else he'll never become a hero like All Might. He then remembered why Izuku liked All Might so much. He always saves others with a brave smile. He wanted to be the same way. He'll honor his dream the same way. With a look of determination, he clenched his hand into a fist. That was the day. Bakugo Katsuki changed his personality for the better. Yet a week ago, a personal journey would be starting for Midoriya Izuku, one that would change him quite a lot. The two would meet again many years later. But that was not known now. Chapter 2, Meeting of the Dragon Clan. It had been 4 years since that incident, and Izuku has grown immensely. He had lived in the forest for a very long time, running around and surviving. He killed animals and cooked their flesh in the cave. He trained on a training dummy using the weapons that were given to him by the dragons. He had learned how to use chakrams, swords, spears, and staffs and magic to an extent. He had worn a new garb after he had outgrown all of his old clothes. He had a dark green cloth shirt with a leather cloak made from the skin of a bear with white frills made from rabbit tails. He had simple black cloth pants and dark red boots. Over time, his muscles grew and he was stronger than he was before. For a child his age, he was pretty strong. He could lift a 20-ton boulder with ease. He was fast enough to be able to run 3,218 kilometers within an hour. He was pretty powerful, to say the least, among the fact that he was 149 centimeters tall, meaning he was around the average height of a 12-year-old despite being 9. He woke up to another morning. "All right, kid, for years are up. Let's celebrate your birthday before we head out, 'kay?" Kane said. Over those years, Izuku had grown acquainted with his new family, and he did call them that since they helped him out more than anyone else. He pretty much loves and cares for them. Kane was like an uncle to him, tough and strict but lighthearted and kind at the same time. Leviathan was like an older sister, strict but soothing and fair. Nanakaze was like a younger sister, energetic and always enthusiastic. Gyo was like a sort of dad, tough but fair, plus he told a lot of bad jokes that Izuku would laugh at. Tengaku was like another younger sister, a bit shy but nice. Daku was like a brother. He may be a bit distant, but he's also really warm also. Meiho was like a mom. She always helped him when he got hurt while toughening him up. She would lend him energy and protect him from large threats. She always cared for and loved him. They were like one big family. It was nice. "Remember one of those caves we told you not to go into? I need you to go into the one marked with a treasure chest," Meiho explained. Izuku nodded and walked past a sigil that glowed with a treasure chest symbol. He was always told not to go into certain caves marked with certain things unless they said so. He walked to the end of the cave and saw a massive hoard of treasure and other various things. "See the bag on top? Take it," Meiho said. Izuku went over to the hoard, walked on top of the large pile where the bag was. It was a simple leather bag, but it had the mark of a dragon on it. It seemed empty as it was light. "That bag will allow you to access your hoard. You're the Dragon King and you own this hoard. Nobody but you can open this bag, but don't lose it," I'm not letting my brother lose something like this, Daku explained. Izuku smiled and tied the bag to his waist. He left the room and was back in the Nexus, as he called it since it connected him to the other rooms that were nearby. The dragons do agree with this name since it makes a lot of sense to call it that. Now head to the room marked with a sword, Yo said. Izuku did so and walked in to see 4 weapons in front of him. All weapons that he was trained in. There was a sword with a black blade with gray hilt that looked like a dragon with a bright blue gem in it and the fang of a dragon for the pommel. A pair white chakrams that look similar to an 8-headed serpent. A white staff that has a dragon's head carved into it, and a spear similar to a dragon's tail that was red with a pointed tip. He looked at the items confused. These are legendary dragoon weapons. We had trained you in those weapons in order for you to be a proper dragoon. Sadly, most dragoons use spears, meaning that some of your training as a dragoon requires a spear, but the other things we've taught will allow you to fight more efficiently. Leviathan said. Izuku smiled and grabbed the sword, but it glowed and went into his mark, leaving not a single trace it was ever there. He looked at his mark confused. The mark of the Dragon King will allow you to carry any weapons on you and summon them when you will it, Yo explained. The young Dragon King nodded and left the room after grabbing the other weapons and absorbing them into his mark, going back into the Nexus soon afterward. Next, head to the room marked with a shield on it. It'll be fun, I promise, Nanake said. Izuku chuckled slightly and found the room with a shield on it. Walking in, he found a suit of armor that looked a lot like a dragon. He picked up the helmet. It was black, but it looked very similar to a dragon. Dragoon armor is a type of armor that is a key part of becoming Dragon King. It's durable and is unbreakable, meaning you don't have to worry that much about maintaining it, Tengaku said. Izuku nodded and put the helmet on. It disappeared. It must have absorbed into the mark since that's where his other items go considering the situation at hand relating to it. He left the room after absorbing the rest of the armor and was back at the Nexus. Next, head into the room marked with a ring, Daku said. Izuku headed there and found a small table with 7 rings on it. He looked closely and they weren't ordinary rings as they had dragon symbols on them. These 7 rings will represent our contracts with you and your path to becoming Dragon King, Kane explained. Each ring represented a different dragon he had a contract with. Kane's was gold with a red symbol. Leviathan's was silver with a blue symbol. Nanake's was also silver with a green symbol instead. Gyo's was gold with a brown symbol. Tengaku's was silver with a white symbol. Daku's was gold with a black symbol. Meiho's was silver with a yellow symbol. He put the gold ones on his right and the silver ones on his left. He walked out of the Nexus with a small smile on his face. He was happy that all of this was going on today. He sat in the middle of the Nexus and closed his eyes, allowing him to access the mindscape. Izuku, before we leave, we have to tell you one last thing, Kane said simply. We're proud of your progress. You've grown so much in the past 4 years. You've really done a lot. We're here for you if you still need us, not because of the contract but because we do care about you immensely. We won't be leaving our contract anytime soon. But remember, we love you very much. You can call upon our power anytime, Meiho said in a soothing voice. And the road ahead will be tough, but you'll find your way, Daku said with a prideful tone. Izuku smiled happily at the 7 dragons. Thanks. Without you guys, I would never be where I am today. So thank you, all of you, he said. Yeah. Now get rolling, kiddo, so rock on. Hey, Yo said happily. Izuku chuckled at his puns and went out of the mindscape. He then walked out of the cave and into the nice warm sun. He then walked out of the forest and into town. He had not been there in a long time. He wonders what changed. He was walking around the town. He put his cloak away in the bag before coming into town, so he was in some normal clothing. Not very many people batted an eye considering he wore some normal-looking clothes. The dragons guided him to where he had to go and found himself in front of an apartment building door. He got over what happened, but that still doesn't make him mentally shudder at the event. He knocked on the door and it opened soon after to reveal a slender and tall pale-skinned man with messy, shoulder-length black hair that partially hangs in front of his face. His eyes were a black coloration and he looked tired, but his eyes were also a bit flat. He had a black long sleeve, black sweatpants, and black socks. "Kid, how did yo dash? Are you a part of the A's clan?" Izuku asked simply. The man raised an eyebrow confused. "Do you have the mark?" he asked. Izuku raised his hand and showed him the mark. The man's eyes widened. He then gestured him inside. The two walked inside and the man bowed in front of Izuku respectfully. "The A's clan, Aizawa Shota, greets the holder of the Dragon Guardian," he said. "Oh, Ryuken." Izuku greets Aizawa Shota the same. Izuku said, bowing also. They stop bowing and Aizawa looks at him bored. "So, if you know about my clan, then you must be the holder of one of Daku's underlings, right?" he asked. "About that," Izuku said. He then explained his situation to Shota, telling him of the dragons, his contract, and where he was for the past couple of years. He never mentioned what happened to his family or what his former family name was. It was for the best to do that. For now at least. "I see. It's amazing that all 7 guardians managed to follow you. You have some pretty powerful elements on your side. You control the powers of fire, water, wind, earth, light, shadow, and energy. To most clans, you'd be considered a god since you are trying to get the title of Dragon King. Geez, now I kind of feel a bit weird about being a servant to a dash. Aizawa, you are not a servant to me. You are an ally or a friend. Either way, I'm not going to tell you what to do unless I have to," Izuku said. Aizawa smiled at this slightly. "Gotta admit, kid, you're a hell of a lot nicer than I thought. What's your dream right now?" he asked. "My dream? I guess. Become a hero," Izuku said. Even during his training, his thoughts never turned from becoming a hero. He even discussed it with his dragon family and they approved. On one condition. He finds either 7 mates to hold their marks or he found 1 mate to hold the mark of Dragon Queen. A title that is as powerful as Dragon King. He accepted this and promised he would find someone worthy of becoming Dragon Queen. He doesn't want a harem, plain and simple. "Huh. Alright, I can help you with that. We'll have to make a backstory. First, you're gonna need to tell me what kind of quirk you have," Aizawa asked. Izuku looked at him in silence. Shota's eyes widened slightly. "You're quirkless? Well, that shouldn't matter. Having the dragons alone is enough to put you above everyone. We'll just say it's called 7 elements since you can control 7 elements. Just make sure not to use dragon links when people are around," Aizawa said. Dragon links are said to be when the dragon contract holder links with the dragon he's contracted to. They're powerful and nothing something to sniff at. Sadly, it takes a lot of stamina out of the user, meaning they'll be tired by the end. But thanks to the dragon, they get a higher stamina amount, meaning that Izuku wouldn't be as worn using 1 dragon. More than that, he'll get exhausted, but he's working on it. "Alright," Izuku said. "Up next, I'll have to put you in as a recommendation. You'll be able to prove yourself to Nedzu there and we'll have to tell him the truth about your abilities as he is also quite familiar with the Dragon Guardians and the Dragon Clans. He's some sort of ancient studier of them or something," Aizawa explained. "Oh, if we have no choice," Izuku said simply. "After that, if we find any more people of the Dragon Clans, we'll have to tell them the truth and allow them into the group, due to the fact that you are trying to become Dragon King. It is customary that you be a uniters of different dragon clans. We're not at war with each other, but we're not exactly fans of each other either. Some of us have good relations with the other clans, but some of us still have trouble with them. I don't know all of them, but you'll be able to connect the dots from there," Aizawa explained. "That makes sense," Izuku said. Aizawa smiled. This was a smart kid. Most Dragon Kings would be troubled by having to do this, but he was cool as ice when it came down to it. Those dragons had taught him well. "Now, I'm pretty sure you've trained for a pretty long time, and as such I will allow you to continue your training regiment. Each dragon clan has an ancient dojo they are attached to, so we'll have to go to mine and train there. Gonna be awkward when we walk in considering you hold Daku and 6 other dragons. If they bow to you, just tell them to get up as they will do that the whole visit," he explained. "Okay," Izuku said, now a bit confused. The two walked out of the apartment and off to where the dojo was. The two stood in front of a large door with a black dragon symbol on it. It held the Chinese symbol for darkness on the sign. It was massive, black, and kind of ominous. The two walked in, and there was a variety of people training and sparring with each other. Izuku was amazed. "Huh? Is that how you got so good at fighting?" he asked. On the way there, Aizawa mentioned his status as a hero and told him about his experience as one. He's really good at fighting groups of people with quirks that he can erase, or if it comes down to it, quirkless people or people with mutation-type quirks. "Yep, now let's go in, kid," the hero said, snapping Izuku out his thoughts. They walked in and saw a variety of people fighting with one person who looked like Aizawa as an old man watching over them. The two walked over to him and stood before him. "Shota, how are you, my son?" the man said. "I'm fine, Dad. We have a contract holder here. He's trying to go for Dragon King," Aizawa said. Izuku showed the mark and the man's eyes widened. "A contract holder? Do you hold the contract of Daku, or is it more than that?" the man asked. "Yes, sir. 7 dragons in total," Izuku said. The man looked him over. He saw that Daku's training was there, but he also saw training from the other dragons within him. He has had a keen eye for people like that for a long time. He could tell at a glance what a person was trained in. Dragon King, the ancient Ace clan, or now known as Aizawa clan, greets the esteemed Dragon King. "We welcome you into our humble dojo. What do you need?" the man asked. "I need to train in this place," Izuku explained simply. "Ah, I see. Even when you have strength, you continue to work on it and improve it. Understandable if you need to come to this place to train. Come anytime you like," the man said. "I promise not to damage anything either. You own all of this and I don't want to break it," Izuku said. The man smiled at this. It seems this new Dragon King was a lot more polite than he thought. "Understandable. Now do you wish to train now, or will you come back at a later time?" the man asked. "I'll come back another time," Izuku said. "Then I will see you again, Dragon King," the man said. Izuku then left with Aizawa following soon after. They left the dojo and went back to the apartment. Things went well, and the young Dragon King had a place to stay finally. It was better than staying in a cave after all that time. Chapter 3: Father of the Dragon. 1 year later. Izuku sighed as he walked home with the groceries. He was given a list by the pro hero and got everything that was needed. Generally, things have been pretty peaceful as he walked back to his home. The young Dragon King has been living with Aizawa for a good while now, and the two have been getting along pretty well. He does his work around the house and helps out the man when he can. Hell, he even cooks him a few meals for when he gets back home from his hero work. During this time, he's been working on his strength still, keeping up with his martial arts training. He was trained in the basic Dragoon Fist by the dragons. They didn't know too much about the martial art as it was mainly developed by humans from their original structure. Meaning that he had the basics down pat, but the more advanced stuff would require work. He was learning the Korwa Ryu style, which was the immediate one he could learn. There were many more styles, but they were sooner or later broken down into parts of the main styles, which was known as the 7 Ryus. Korwa Ryu, Shiroi Ryu, Aka Ryu, Aoi Ryu, Midori Ryu, Chikyu Ryu, and Ki Ryu. He had to go to each of the clans that knew the main styles in order to learn each of them, which led to him learning an important fun fact about how the clans worked. There wasn't a main family, but rather an interconnected system of people who were followers long ago. The A's clan were one of these followers that were under Daku. There were other followers also. There was the Kuro family, the Kuraikage family, the Boido family, and many more similar families. Some of the clans had connections with the other clans that were of the other dragons. The A's or Aizawa family being one of them. That was because of another fellow hero. "Hey, a little Ryu," Izuku heard. He looked over and saw a familiar cockatoo man. He looked at the man blankly. "Can you please call me by my name, Yamada?" he asked. "Where's the fun in that?" Yamada said. This was Yamada Hizashi, also known as Present Mike, the famous radio star and pro hero. He knows Aizawa since they met in U.A, to which they were good friends. There was also the fact that he was a part of the ancient Kurioto family, which were followers of Tengaku. And he was best friends, along with another person, with Aizawa. His family has been teaching him the Shiroi Ryu along with a special technique, the Najiki Ryu. A small white dragon wisp appeared on his shoulder. I happen to like the name, she said. Turns out, the dragons can manifest themselves slightly into the physical plane, meaning they can talk to other people and generally show their existence towards others that doubt them, without dragging them into the mental space, that is. The Dragon King rolled his eyes at this comment. Regardless, how are you doing? Izuku asked. Good. I've heard you've been making leaps and bounds in understanding the Najiki Ryu. That's hella nice, Hizashi said. You've done well in mastering it, Kane said proudly. Right, well I was just heading home to Aizawa. You wanna come visit? Izuku asked. Was already planning on it, Hizashi said. The two began walking towards the home, talking about a few things on the way back. When they arrived home, they saw Aizawa laying on the couch watching some television with a bored expression. He looked over and saw the two. He smiled a little. Well, you got done quick, he snarked. Hey, the store wasn't busy today, Izuku said with a shrug. And it was much easier to get food than usual, Leviathan said. All right, let's get to talking about Izuku's skills, Hizashi said. Aizawa sat up and sighed. He crossed his arms soon after with a more serious expression. Right, first things first. Izuku, you've been making leaps and bounds in understanding the Ryu styles. You've started to learn 2 thus far and are 4 years away from mastering them. You've still got 5 more to learn. Yet the time to attend U.A is coming up real quick, he said. Which is kind of badass if you couldn't tell Aizu, Nanake said with a grin. Yep, and I've been figuring out some stuff to learn it. Your family has a few techniques that have combined both shadow and fire, right? Izuku asked. Yeah, why? Aizawa asked. I've been trying to separate the energies out slightly and see if I can do somewhat of the same technique. You've told me that Shadow Wave came from Fire Surge, meaning that if I can figure out how to replicate it just using fire rather than both fire and shadow, then dash. Don't bother with it. Look, you can figure out how to learn Fire Surge by Shadow Wave's example, but don't go trying to figure how to dissect techniques. I'll hurt you more than it'll help, Aizawa said. It's much better to learn them separately rather than overextend yourself needlessly, Daku said wisely. Hizashi nodded and patted Izuku's shoulder with a somewhat sheepish look on his face. Listen, trying to dissect techniques is like trying to figure out how to destroy a black hole. Not a good idea. The elements used to create the techniques are on certain wavelengths that are very delicate. Trying to deconstruct it would most likely cause it to blow up in your face. Using a lesser form of Fire Surge is better than trying to figure out how to get the full version free, Hizashi said. Agreed, Meiho said with a light nod. Izuku hummed in thought upon hearing this. He then sighed and nodded. I see. Well, I guess I should get to figuring out where the other clans are. It'll be nearly impossible considering how big Japan is, he said. You'll find the rest. All of the clans have the ability to sense draconic energy, meaning that over time, you should be able to have them come to you rather than you coming to them, Aizawa explained. Yes, it's one of the reasons we guided you here, Kane said. Is that how you could really tell I was a Dragon King? Izuku asked. Aizawa nodded. Hizashi chuckled sheepishly soon afterward. That was a kind of important detail, wasn't it? Yeah, that's how I found out so easily. Since me and Shoyuta are both a part of dragon clans, we could easily sense you. Remember after we first met, I nodded to him? Hizashi asked. Izuku merely nodded at this. He then looked at Aizawa. You see, he nodded back, thus confirming my suspicions. He knew that look in my eye when it came to this sort of thing. Hizashi explained. Huh. That's cool, Izuku said. He then chuckled, thus confusing the two. What? Aizawa asked, confused. It's strange. You are affiliated with the shadows and Zashi is associated with light, Izuku said. Zashi? Hizashi asked with a raised eyebrow. Already giving nicknames, eh? Yo teased. Izuku rolled his eyes at both comments. He knew that this kind of thing happened. Hey, it's a nickname, he said. Hizashi smiled and noogied the boy's head, causing him to chuckle slightly. Not opposed to that, I like it, he said. He let the boy go and chuckled to himself. But you are right, it is kind of weird that us two opposite are friends, he said. Can't deny the logic in that one, Aizawa said. Well, I've read a few novels where darkness was against light. Honestly, I like this a lot better, Izuku said. Yes. Better for us to get alone rather than fight, Tengaku said. He then sighed and sat on the couch. Honestly, I enjoy being around you guys. I've only ever had the dragon, but ever since I met you two and Namuri, I've kind of had that sense of, well, family again. Sure, the dragons raised me and I consider them family, but it's kind of nice being able to physically talk to people. You know? Izuku said. Understandable, Aizawa said. You know, I've always wondered where your father went before your mom died, Hizashi said. Izuku frowned as he stared at the floor. The other dragons looked at him in silence. I'm betting it was because of my quirkless status. I really did wish he would be around though, he said. I say screw him, Aizawa said. Izuku looked at him shocked. If he can't appreciate his son over something such as a quirk, then screw him. You've got better people in your life, Kane said. Exactly. Appreciate the people who love you, kid, Aizawa said. Thanks, Dad, Izuku said with a smile. He realized what he said and froze, as did the two others in the room. Aizawa then smiled proudly and patted the boy's head, snapping out of his shock while snapping Hizashi out of his. You're welcome, kid, he said. Oh, am I Uncle Zashi? Hizashi asked. Izuku merely nodded, causing the man to smile widely. He quickly got out his phone and called someone. Nem, you won't believe what just happened, he said excitedly. Izuku chuckled while Aizawa groaned annoyed, knowing what was going to happen. The young Dragon King was happy. He had a home and more of a family now. Things were looking up for him now. Chapter 4. Twin Dragons. 3 years later. Bakugo had changed after Izuku left. He went to therapy right after it happened and talked about all of his issues, and he means all of them. He didn't leave out the loneliness he felt from people praising his quirk. He felt they saw past him and just saw him for his quirk. He mentioned when he felt like his best friend looked down on him since he helped him up once. He even mentioned his roughness in protecting Izuku from a dangerous job like being a hero. He didn't leave out a single detail. It would hurt him more if he left out a detail or two. Over time, he had learned that the people who truly mattered were the ones that saw him for who he was rather than his quirk. His dream of being a hero never diminished. It grew stronger as time went on after his best friend disappeared from the world. It had become a cold case due to the fact he was never found. Not even a trace of where he went could be seen. He was ready to become a hero. He was ready to make a difference. He's gonna sign up for U.A and pass the mock exam. He'll try and get the entrance exam soon after. He was more than ready to try and be a hero. Not just for his missing best friend, but for his best friend's dream. Hey Baku bro, he heard his friend say. The black-haired boy near him was Kirishima Ijiro. He had met him after he changed schools. They met in elementary school and went up to the same middle school. He had met Kaminari, Shiro, Ashido there soon after, and they had a friend group going on. Hey Kirishima, Bakugo said with a warm smile. He didn't let his quirk's explosiveness get to him. Rather, he took control of his explosive personality and was more of a calm, kind person. He did get mad, but only when people deserved it. Like when that one guy insulted him for his lost best friend after he heard he was going for the hero course in the future. Screw that Monoma guy, whoever he was. Man, we're gonna be heroes in just 2 years plus a couple of months? Hard to believe, huh? Kirishima said. Yeah. Bakugo said in a slightly solemn tone. You still miss him, huh? Kirishima asked. His friends found out about his missing friend along with his dead surrogate aunt and decided to keep being friends with him. They might go out and look for Izuku one of these days. He's still out there. Katsuki just knows it. Yep. I wonder where he even we dash. He then bumped into someone. He didn't seem to be paying attention. Sorry about that / my bad, the two said at once. Bakugo looked at the person in front of him and his eyes widened. Is that you, Izuku? He asked. Katsuki? Izuku asked. The two looked at each other in silence. Wait, are you really Bakubro's missing friend? Kirishima asked. That was the moment they met each other years after they were apart. Later, Izuku was sitting with Bakugo in a cafe with Kirishima. He had a cup of coffee in front of him and a confused look, all directed towards a calm Katsuki's face. So, you really changed yourself when I disappeared? He asked. I know what I did in the past was wrong and I was trying to protect you, but I could have gone about it in another way, Bakugo said. Yeah, Bakubro's a pretty chill dude, Kirishima said. Izuku took a long drink of his coffee and then set it down, bridging his fingers soon after with a serious look. He looked at his former best friend right in the eyes. Okay. Say I believe you. How would that make up for everything you did? He asked. There's no easy way of saying this. There's not a good way of making this up. Not without giving you a lot, so I offer a deal, 1 punch to the face, Bakugo said. Izuku looked at him shocked. Was one of the strongest people he had known going to allow him to punch him in the face after his bullying? His dragon pride had told him to punch him in the face. The dragons didn't give a bit of advice, in fact. They were silent at this time. However, one part of Izuku that was deep within his emotions spoke up. It told him to forgive him but not forget what he did. I'm not going to punch you in the face. I'm rather going to forgive you but not forget what you did, Izuku said. I almost expected as much. Thanks, Bakugo said. You're welcome. So what have you been up to while I was gone? Izuku asked. Bakugo told him the events that happened after he left. It was surprising to hear him admit he had a superiority complex that was out of control, but that did make some sense considering what he did in the past because of it. After Katsuki was done, Izuku sighed. That's good to hear. As for me, I've been out and around, training, getting stronger, finding out I had a quirk, he said. Wait, you have a quirk? Bakugo asked surprised. Yep, 7 elements. I had left my home as an effort to make myself better. Even changed my name to reflect this. Ryuken, that's what it is, Izuku said. Oh. Wow, that's kind of badass and manly as hell. While we're at it, Kirishima said. Ah, Kirishima, right? Izuku asked. The boy nodded. The Dragon King smiled. Well, it's nice to hear that some people took care of Bakugo while I was gone. Back then I occasionally had to remind him to eat whenever we played a lot, Izuku said with a teasing grin. Bakugo glared at him before sighing while Kirishima chuckled at this. Hard to believe you still remember that. You damn nerd, he said with a grin. Yeah. Are you going to attend U.A in the future? Izuku asked. Who wouldn't? One of the largest hero schools, but you already knew that, right? Bakugo asked with a smile. Izuku looked at him with a deadpan look. This a bad time to mention I have had barely any contact with the outside world while I was gone. I was taught by some people I met about everything I needed to know, he explained. As it turned out, the dragons knew a lot about the human world and were completely willing to teach him everything in between his training. He knew English, German, and a variety of other languages. He had come to know the struggle that his algebra and physics. He had learned some things about literature they were able to pick up from old shops they could go to. Izuku had a few bits of yen on him before he left home and was able to buy some old books from the shop, which were conveniently the ones that schools taught. It was nice reading other books while he was at it. He even learned a few things about money management. Huh, that's interesting. Who were they? Bakugo asked. You can't tell him about us right now, Kane chimed in. They don't want very many people to know about them yet, Izuku said. The dragons approved of what he said. It was the best in the end. Bakugo shrugged as Kirishima raised an eyebrow. Huh. They must be pretty manly if they don't want very many people knowing about them, he remarked. You could say that, Izuku said simply. He didn't know how to feel about that comment. This boy is obsessed with manliness, wasn't he? Izuku sighed as he walked towards his new school. Even though he had superhuman intelligence, Aizawa still wanted him to attend middle school. They decided on the closest one, which was Aldera Junior High. He wasn't sure how to feel about this, but he didn't care all that much. At least he can live a somewhat average school life. He then felt a hand on his shoulder. He looked over and saw it was Bakugo with a small grin. "Didn't know you were the new guy they mentioned," he said. "Huh. Yeah, I guess I am," Izuku said. "Come on. There are some people I'll introduce you to at lunch," Bakugo said. The two then walked inside, talking about a few things afterward, like how Mitsuki took a majorly different approach towards being a parent after finding out about Izuku's former bullying. She decided to speak more calmly and be a bit more rational in decisions, which helped Masaru a lot. He was starting to grow gray hairs from how much his child and his wife argued. Regardless, things haven't been that much different. If anything, things have been relatively the same despite some of the changes that occurred when Izuku disappeared. The police did find out that Izuku was no longer missing and asked what happened. He just told him he went off to train somewhere, met some nice people, and then later came to this part of Japan in order to become a hero. He was lucky they didn't bring in anyone with a lie-detecting quirk, or else he'd be in some pretty hot water. Regardless, he was no longer missing, which was good. Things were getting a bit better now. Later, Izuku was getting his lunch. He got introduced by the teacher and decided not to show off his quirk after being told what it was. He didn't have a reason. Some of the students had acted a bit like assholes thinking he didn't have one. Others thought that the dragon contractor was smug and thought of himself as better than everyone, hence why he didn't show off his quirk. Honestly, he expected this. Times have changed and humanity certainly hasn't changed their stances on quirkless people and quirks, calling some villains because of certain abilities, even though it was out of their control usually. It was dumb and honestly needs to be dealt with. The dragons were always pissed about that fact existing. Daku was especially vocal about it. He gets into a rant whenever it's mentioned in his presence. He saw Bakugo waving him over at a table. Naturally, he walked over and sat down. "So this is that missing friend that came back?" a black-haired boy asked with a raised eyebrow. "Honestly, he looks kinda cute," a pink-haired girl said with a grin. I'm more curious about his quirk," a blonde-haired boy said with a shrug. Izuku blinked slightly. Bakugo sighed annoyed as he looked at the three sternly. "Don't overwhelm him, guys. He hasn't gotten used to your personalities yet like I have," he said. Right. I'm Shiro Hanada," the black-haired boy said plainly. "I'm Ashido Mina," the pink-haired girl said happily. "Kaminari Denki. Nice to meet ya," the blonde-haired boy as with a grin. Izuku nodded soon after, that what Bakugo's other friends' names were. "I'm Ryuken Izuku. It's a pleasure to meet you," he said. "Your quirk is called the 7 Elements. So what elements do you control?" Kaminari asked. Well, there is fire, water, earth, and air. There's also energy, light, and shadow," Izuku explained simply. "Wow, so you can control electricity since it's pure energy?" Mina asked. Izuku nodded lightly at this. She then gave a teasing look towards Kaminari. "Looks like you have some completion," she said. "Shut up," the blonde replied annoyed. "That's kind cool. Controlling several elements," Shiro said. Izuku only shrugged upon mention. "It's useful," he said. He suddenly got the sense he was about to be attacked. He got up and turned around. Sticking his arm out, a series of green scales then appeared on his arm as a blade met it, thus tearing the fabric of the uniform. In front of him was some kid with a blade arm. He looked at the boy annoyed. "So, that's all your quirk can do? Make scales?" he asked. "It can do more than that. Now, why did you attack me?" Izuku asked calmly. "Because obviously you're a weakling. Your quirk obviously can't do much like you said. Probably just a lie," the boy said. Izuku growled deeply as his eyes began to slit slightly. Magical energy was building up within him. "This boy better understand not to mess with a dragon," Keen growled. The boy then grinned slightly, looking at the annoyed dragon contractor. "And another thing, I'm curious why you haven't mentioned your parents? Maybe They abandoned a weakling like you, the boy said. Energy suddenly burst out from Izuku, sending the boy flying to the ground while blowing a few people back. The bully looked up and saw that the dragon contractor had scales on his arms that grew up to his forearm. His teeth were bared, showing sharp fangs as he growled deeply and angrily. His eyes were glowing a bright red as they bore into the kid. Everyone else was shocked at the power he gave off. You just poked a dragon, Izuku said. Chapter 5, Meeting of the Dragon. Shoyuta Aizawa was a man of many things to which many people that know him will agree upon. He was a man of honor, he was a man of intelligence, he was a man of strategy, and most importantly, he was somewhat of a teacher. He knew that when it came to anything, he had to use his head and had to show a lesson when it comes to life. There are moments where he needs to kick ass verbally. Those moments are few and far in between. This was one of those moments. He just got called by Izuku's school and was told he assaulted a student for no reason. Obviously something he should go and deal with considering the severity of the situation. Does he believe them? Not at all. He knows Izuku and the school better than that, meaning he shouldn't take the school's word for it considering their infamy. How does he know this? Nedzu apparently, anyone can guess he keeps his fingers in different pies, so to speak, meaning he knew enough. Why was that the case? Turns out the school is a fanatic Quirkus place. He had found this out after signing the papers. Yet he wanted to give the school a chance. Izuku was said to have a quirk, and it was a strong one, meaning they'd probably leave him alone. Though he did ask him to report any suspicious activity to him so he can build a case against that school, he ain't gonna let them get away with that shit. So imagine his rage when he was called. He wasn't gonna just rip into them. He was gonna deal with them. They've been able to do this for too long. This problem will end today. Aizawa walked into the office and sat down. Izuku was perfectly fine. Not a hair out of place, he didn't even seem to be fazed by all of this. The other kid, however, was a bruised up and torn apart mess. He poked a dragon, so he's lucky that he's even in that state. Dragon kings are well known for their strength and overzealousness. For him to hold back like this is a pretty monumental feat. He knew Midoriya was a good kid. He's gonna have to do something about this. So, explain to me how this happened exactly? Aizawa asked before sitting down. All right. This fine student right here was enjoying his lunch when Ryuken came up to him and attacked him out of nowhere using his quirk. Another student joined in, Bakugo Katsuki, using his quirk on him. They may very well go to jail. Luckily, we're letting off Bakugo with a warning since he's a good student. Yet we can't let Ryuken off since he hasn't proven himself yet. The principal explained. Instantly, Aizawa saw the resemblance between the kid and the principal. He also remembered that Bakugo's quirk was explosion and there wasn't a single singe or burn mark on the kid. Plus, if Izuku used his quirk, then the kid would have some kind of burn or something from his attacks, meaning it was more of a physical punch than anything else. Plus, Dragon Kings and people like Ryuken don't usually attack people unprovoked. With both of those traits in mind, then it's obvious that something's fishy about this whole statement. Meaning that 90% of it was probably a lie, the 10% is most likely margin of error. I see. Do you mind if I call a friend in? Aizawa asked. Why? The principal asked. They're a detective, plus their quirk helps them with this kind of thing. Aizawa explained simply. The principal merely shrugged this off and nodded. He secretly grinned. He just lost his trump card. The detective he was talking about was named Tsukachi Naomesa. His quirk allowed him to detect any lie, meaning that he was probably going to get exposed. This is one of the reasons why he actually likes Nedzu. He's a good principal. He'd hear both sides out, figure out what is true and what is false, use evidence to prove everything, and if all else were to fail, call in Tsukachi. He isn't always busy with how peaceful things have been as of late. And if he couldn't, there are a few other people that have a quirk similar to his. He is usually more effective to have around. Aizawa opened his phone and contacted the detective. It rung for a few moments and then the line picked up. What's up, Aizawa? Tsukachi, I need you to come down to Aldria Junior High. Ryuken was just accused of assault. Aizawa said simply. The Dragon King had met the detective shortly after reappearing in civilization. They became fast friends, and honestly 9 times out of 10, the detective would probably help Izuku when he needed. The one time he couldn't help would probably be when he's extremely busy with paperwork, having to chase down a criminal, investigating something, and all sorts of other things. Meaning that if Izuku was accused of something and Aizawa called him, then he needs to prove his innocence. This isn't the first time this has happened. In the time the detective knew the young contractor. He's seen him be accused of crimes he didn't commit over 20 times. Guess not too many people liked him for some odd reason. Especially that one coffee shop barista boss and a lot of his employees. He apparently banned Izuku before he even took a step inside the store. There was a large number of firings that day, and no one still knew why that occurred to this very day. Regardless, Izuku was going to need help for this. "All right, I'll be on my way in a few minutes," Tsukachi said over the phone. Aizawa hung up and looked at the principal soon after with a calm look on his face despite the boiling rage inside of him. "He'll be here in a few minutes," he said simply. "Okay then, we'll wait for as long as it takes to prove this little menace of his crime," the principal said with an evil grin. Aizawa had to practically hold himself back from decking him in the face and from rolling his eyes while making an extremely sarcastic comment. It wouldn't help the situation anymore, though he'll hopefully be able to deck him in the face later. Chances are he's going to get hostile over what's going to happen. For now, he'll just settle for mentally judging him at every turn. Tsukachi arrived at the school soon after. He walked into the principal's office and already knew something was wrong. He mentally sighed and got through questioning. Izuku told the complete and utter truth. Not a single lie in his words. The principal and his child, however, only told lies. It triggered his quirk so many times to the point where he had to sit down because it was starting to make him a bit dizzy. It happens from overuse. After all was said and done, the detective sighed. "My quirk is lie detector, meaning that it allows me to detect any lies when one speaks. Izuku had been telling the complete and utter truth while you two were telling nothing but lies. Some of them were even a bit obvious, such as Izuku damaging the school even though I saw no damage down to any part of the school as I walked through here. There wasn't even a mention of it," he said. What? Aren't you being a bit biased?" the principal asked. Tsukachi's face went dark and he glared at the principal. If looks would kill, then the principal would be dead nearly 30 times over from the look the detective gave him. He sat up and slammed a hand on the desk, startling the principal. "Are you implying that I would lie, sir? My quirk, by literal definition, prevents me from lying unnecessarily. I can keep secrets, big ones that may threaten someone to the point of death. But lying to you about my own quirk's detection in order to stop someone from going to prison for a little while? Well, I'm sorry to disappoint, but I can't do that since it would stop me. So, sir, I would suggest you start telling the truth and we might be able to cut you some slack," he said. "Oh, on what?" the principal asked, afraid. "Oh? You don't think nobody's noticed your little quirkism problem? TSK, Mr. Uesosuke. You should know that quirkism has been banned for a long time. Quirkless people also apply under this banner as the rule was also made for people without quirks in mind at the time of making it," Tsukachi said. "Oh. That's a little jock dash. Wrong answer. Now give me a reason why I shouldn't arrest you and your son for not only committing perjury but aggravated assault along with what can be considered child abuse?" Tsukachi asked. "Oops," the principal said sheepishly. Aizawa then grabbed the man by the shirt. He activated his quirk, slightly causing his hair to be raised and his eyes to glow red. "Listen here, you fat sack of shit, you have gone too far with this. People like you are one of the reasons the suicide rate for quirkless people is so high. You keep bullying and bullying them because you have some power. I can erase quirks and I'm a hero, big fucking whoop. I earned the title of hero because I treat people with respect and dignity. I don't let my quirk determine my status. I work hard and get what I earn. You, however, have managed to just take everything for yourself because all you've done is just push others around because you have some kind of power. I don't give a shit what it is, I don't give a shit who you are, and I don't give a shit for what you can do. If you can't treat others like the decent human being that they are, then you lack any potential for anything. Maybe that's why you work here, because you can't do shit with your life. And if you ever threaten my son like that again, then I will tear a new asshole. If you even touch a hair on his head, then I will you limb from fucking limb. Do you understand?" Aizawa asked. The principal turned a pale white and sat in his chair. Izuku looked at him amazed and then he realized. He just called him his son to another person. He smiled proudly at that. Now people can know that he's his father. The principal passed out soon after being told that threat. 1 hour later. Izuku watched as the principal was arrested along with his son. Apparently they had a lot higher charges. The son was charged with possession of illegal substances and illegal weaponry, along with breaking the law relating to quirks. The father was charged with domestic abuse and participating in an illegal gambling ring along with fraud and embezzlement plus theft. It was strange to see that a person like that had so many charges, but there it was. He then looked at Bakugo and his friends. Well, this was one hell of a day, Izuku said. Yeah, it kind of was. So wanna go to the arcade? Bakugo asked. Izuku looked at Aizawa. He smiled and ruffled his hair playfully. Go ahead. I'll have to find you a new school, he said. Or I could teach them, a voice said. Aizawa looked over and saw Nedzu standing there. He blinked in surprise as he stared at his boss and the principal of UA. He smiled slightly. Well, okay, but you're gonna have to get the other kids' parents' permission, he said. Already doing it, Nedzu said. Have I ever told you that you sometimes are one of the coolest people I know and one of the creepiest? Aizawa said. Nope, Nedzu said simply. Well, there you go, Aizawa said. He then walked off, mumbling under his breath about getting some booze later with Mike to forget this day. Nedzu smiled to himself proudly. And nothing of value was lost, he said. Nedzu, someone was arrested, Tsukachi said, standing nearby him. And nothing of value was lost, Nedzu repeated. Tsukachi chuckled to himself. He couldn't exactly deny that. Now could he? Chapter 6. Draconic Training. Izuku was the type to train himself in many ways, so when he got friends, he showed them his training area, and the group has pretty much hung out there ever since. Currently, he was meditating under a waterfall. He does this because not only does this help him with control over his abilities, but this also gives him more connection to the elements around him. He was wearing a pair of green swim trunks at the moment. Meanwhile, Bakugo and Kirishima were going at it against each other nearby. The explosive boy fighting against the hard-earning user with powerful explosions while maneuvering around with ease. He throws a kick which is blocked by Kirishima's arm. Bakugo manages to jump back and looks at him impressed as the boy stretches his arms slightly. Gotta admit, you're getting better, he said. Of course I am, Baku bro. I still want a match against Izuku, Kirishima said. I'm kind of curious why you want to fight him. He's strong, yeah, but he usually keeps that to himself, Zero said. Kirishima sighed and looked at the meditating boy in thought. He had a lot to think about when it came to his best friend's childhood friend, now formerly missing from the world itself. He is strong, and if I fight him, I can get even stronger, he said. The others looked at him confused. He sighed yet again while crossing his arms. We're trying to be heroes and well, heroes are so manly, and it's because they're usually pretty strong. If Izuku is strong then, if I fight him I'll be strong like a hero sooner or later. I have to in order to protect people. You know, Kirishima explained. They understood what he meant. It's understandable he'd want to fight someone as strong as Izuku. They don't know how strong he is, but they know he's pretty strong, meaning that he might be able to give them even more strength. Little did they know, Izuku heard their conversation. Thanks to the dragons and his training with the Nijiki Ryu granted him a high level of hearing. He admired Kirishima's want for strength to help people. I just wish I could help him in some way. Actually, there is a way for you to help, Meiho said. Izuku mentally deadpanned at this. He had a feeling he was looking directly at Meiho. What? There's a thing called the Ryu's Meiho. It's a mark that gives whoever has it a huge boost in power. I'd recommend trying to see if they're trustworthy with this secret before giving any one of these marks to them. Kane explained. Right? I'll try to do it a week before UA, and I know just how to test them before then, Izuku thought. He opened his eyes and suddenly the water moved away from him. The others looked at him in shock as he formed a bridge of water. He arrived at the bottom soon after. Instantly he was out of his swimming trunks and into some training clothes. He wore a forest green GI with a dragon symbol on the back. His hair was tied up in a braid. He looked at Kirishima with a calm look. You're wanting to fight me, right? He asked. Yeah, Kirishima said. Izuku instantly got into a fighting stance. He gently gestured for him to attack. The hardening quirk user looked at him confused. The Dragon King sighed upon seeing that look. I heard about why you want to get strong. My quirk gives me pretty good hearing, which is how I know. I'm wanting you to fight me to show me your strength. And you guys can fight me also if you want, he explained. All right, I'll do my best, Kirishima said. He immediately hardened and charged forward with a punch. Izuku blocked it with his arm, causing a small shockwave. He grinned at him while the hardening user grinned back. That's the spirit. Now, come with me with everything you've got, the Dragon King said, determined. Kirishima threw another punch, which was countered by one from Izuku. The two began punching each other, their fists landing on each other with small shockwaves. He then charged up a flame in his mouth. The determined future hero looked at him confused before looking in shock. Aka Ryu technique. Flaming Dragon Kokyu. Izuku boomed. He then breathed out flames which the hardening user managed to deal with. His skin made him somewhat fire-resistant. It hurt a little, but he managed to deal with it. He was about to throw another punch, but Izuku suddenly kicked him away. He skidded across the ground slightly before dodging an axe kick. He then saw a fist with yellow energy on it with slight bolts of energy. Ki Ryu technique. Dragon Shoryuken. He boomed. He uppercut, soon sending Kirishima flying. Izuku aimed an arm forth as a ball of water grew in his hand. Dangon technique. Aoi Ryu. He fired it off, causing it to explode in hot steam after it hit Kirishima. The boy landed on the ground soon after. His quirk deactivated. Izuku walked over and placed a hand on his head. Chiyu no Haira, he said simply. White energy came out of his hand and poured into Kirishima. A few moments after, he woke up and sat up with a slight groan. He then looked at Izuku amazed and with stars in his eyes. Dude, that was awesome. I didn't know you could do that, he said in awe. Something I practiced when I was with those other people, Izuku said sheepishly. Bakugo sighed and patted his back soon after. He then looked at him with a friendly smile. Regardless, that was pretty amazing. Guess all that time gave you a lot of practice, he said. He then gave a grin as he hiked a thumb to himself. Guess I ought to catch up. Can't have you leaving me in the dust, Bakugo said. I think that would be for the best, but don't think I'll make it easy, Izuku said with a grin. The two then shook on it. That day a friendly rivalry was born between them. Mina, Kaminari, and Siro were looking at them with deadpan expressions in the meanwhile. You guys really need to take things a bit slow, Kaminari mumbled. Yeah. Seriously, Mina mumbled also. Should have expected this, yet I didn't, Siro mumbled slightly. 2 months later. Izuku blocked a strike from Kirishima. He threw a punch forward which was countered with another, sending him sliding back slightly. He wiped the side of his mouth. He had blood dripping down it. He began to grin. He got what every battle-hungry dragon dreamed of. A good fight. Kirishima along with Bakugo were improving by leaps and bounds. The others were not too far behind them either. Izuku lit his fist on fire and charged forward. Aka Ryu technique. Blazing fist. He boomed. He punched Kirishima, causing him to slide back also before he could get a moment to put in another attack. The hardening quirk user charged into him, sending him backwards slightly. He grinned as he began to get fired up slightly. You've improved quite a lot, he said. Thanks. I've been doing sit-ups, push-ups, and plenty of milk, Kirishima said. Izuku grinned even wider as wind gathered around him. Javelins made of green wind appeared around him. He had been preparing plenty of techniques since those 2 months past. Midori Ryu technique. Kaze spear. He chanted. He grabbed one of them and threw them at Kirishima. He dodged it and ran forward. Dodging the others, the Dragon King began to use one of them as a weapon to which each was dodged. Kirishima then uppercut Izuku, sending him flying upward. He grinned before seeing him float there. Izuku readjusted himself soon after and landed with a loud boom. He got up and brushed himself off casually. He grinned once more as he looked at Kirishima, impressed. You managed to get a lot of hits in, he said. Heh, thanks, Kirishima said. But this is where our little game must end. Checkmate, Izuku said. He let off a wave of energy, revealing multiple bolts of thunder around Kirishima. He then noticed that Izuku had been subtly moving his hand in certain directions. He had been making those bolts and setting them up. He snapped his fingers and the bolts hit him all at once. The hardening user got a knee and panted. Izuku hummed at this. You managed to still be standing. Normally it'd knock you out, Izuku mused. I've been training, Kirishima grunted. He suddenly felt his energy restored. He stood up and brushed himself off with a grin. How close did I get? Kirishima said. A little bit more and you probably would have put me in a state where certain attacks weren't possible. Well done, Izuku said with a clap. The others clapped soon after. They've been getting used to watching them fight each other. After a while, it became their sort of thing to watch each other. They've all taken each other one. Mina's fought Zero, Zero has fought Kirishima, Kirishima has fought Kaminari, Kaminari has fought Bakugo, and Bakugo has fought Izuku. They even kept track of their win and loss records. Izuku, 30W0L in 30 matches with Bakugo. Mina, 10W5L in 15 matches with Zero. Kaminari, 5W5L in 10 matches with Bakugo. Zero, 15W5L in 25 matches with Kirishima. Bakugo, 20W10L in 30 matches with Izuku. Kirishima, 15W10L in 25 matches with Kaminari. Izuku has beaten every single one of them and hasn't lost once in more individual matches. Some may say that makes no sense, but consider this. His training is very advanced. He's lifted boulders 40 times his size, he's meditated under a waterfall for days at a time, he's done thousands upon thousands of basic exercises, he honed his skills to the point where he could attack with pinpoint precision, and he's more durable than steel normally. He has a lot of advantages over them, he can counter every single one of their attacks. Mina throws some acid, he can use water to dilute it, move rocks to block it, or uses wind to move it. Zero uses his tape to try and trip him up for a moment, sets his legs on fire before readjusting himself quickly. Kaminari uses electricity on him, he manipulates it and sends it right back. Kirishima fights him head-on. He responds in the same while doing subtle setups, however, this was more recent. Bakugo tries to counter him at every turn the best he can. Izuku plans around that instantly. The point is that Izuku has more strength than people give him credit for, along with smarts. He would be a great hero because of this. Mina yawned and checked the time. We should start heading back. My parents are going to get worried if I stay out too late, she said. Yeah. Good match, Izuku, Kirishima said. You too, Izuku said. And they all headed home. He sat down on his bed. The dragons manifested in front of him with serious gazes. So, have you made your decision? Keen asked. Honestly, they're pretty worthy of it. They've been taking training very seriously and have been getting stronger in a short amount of time. A power boost would be well deserved, Izuku said. Correct answer. You can give them the Ryu's Mayo, Daku said. Izuku nodded soon after. He was going to help them get stronger. They had a month left before UA. Hopefully, things go well in that time. Meanwhile, a girl with pink hair hummed to herself as she read an ancient book. Her grandfather gave it to her one day, saying, "There will be someone that you will have to assist when you meet him. You will know. It is in our family's ancient code to do so. This book will tell you more, my child." She took the book and read it. She didn't know whether to believe it or not. It detailed something called the Dragon King and how, since they had a contract with the Dragon Guardians, they were very powerful due to this. Regardless, they still asked for help. Her family was one of those people that were asked. Their original family name was Kajiya. They were a line of blacksmiths that forged powerful weapons. It was said that they forged 4 mighty weapons and a suit of armor for the Dragon King, all made from old dragons. She had a feeling that she should help him in some way. She even had a faint tingle in her mind, but no matter what she did, it wouldn't go away. She got used to it, but now it's growing stronger. She'll have to learn how to deal with that later. For now, she'll keep reading about them. She did wonder, though, what would they be like? I hope they like my babies, she mumbled. She closed the book and got back to work on her inventions. U.A was coming up soon and she needed to be ready for it. Chapter 7. Dragon's Truth. Izuku hummed to himself as he sat in a cafe with the others. They had decided to eat here for today. They were all having a good time, though during this, he decided to announce that he had a gift and something to tell them. It made them a little confused at what it was, but they decided to wait after they were done eating to talk about it. Bakugo sighed as he looked at Izuku with a raised brow. He had to wonder what gift he was giving them, along with this conversation they were going to have. What would he want to talk to them about that involved giving them a gift? None of them had a birthday today or in this month. It wasn't a holiday, so what could it possibly be? So, what is this gift? He asked. First, I have to ask you something. Do you believe in legends? Izuku asked. I mean, legends are sometimes just stories, right? Mina asked. What if I told you that wasn't entirely the case? Izuku said. He then willed the dragon's presence. Everyone's eyes widened at this. They didn't know he could do that, and had a feeling it was connected to what he said. Bakugo gave him a serious gaze and leaned in slightly. Izuku, what are you saying? He asked, confused. Let me tell you an old tale. It goes a little something like this. Izuku began. He then detailed the legend of the Dragon Guardians and the Dragon King hero. He showed the mark on his hand and made it glow slightly. After that, they decided to leave the cafe to talk about it more. They were all amazed to hear this from him. He had some kind of ancient power. Caused by fucking dragons of all things, it was amazing yet a little terrifying. You mean to tell me that all this time, you were training with dragons? Kirishima asked in awe. Sounds out there, but trust me when I say this. It's true, Izuku said with a shrug. That explains a lot actually, Bakugo said, crossing his arms. The others, Izuku included, looked at him strangely. The explosive boy sighed annoyed and then raised a finger while giving them a calculative look. He did this whenever he had to explain something important. They called it Bakugo's detective work. Look, it did make him seem like a detective with how he worded things. You were gone for a pretty long while and you mentioned training with people you weren't allowed to talk about. Dragons would be a pretty sensitive topic to mention. You've had that strange mark that's shaped like a dragon. You grew scales and your hair had turned back. I knew it wasn't dyed because it never faded or changed. It was almost as if it was actually permanent. And finally, you have a lot more power than you let yourself say, with 7 elements, meaning that you can do more than just control them. He explained in a simple tone. After a few moments, Izuku then clapped, impressed. He was smiling as he looked at him, impressed. He didn't expect for him to be able to explain this in a way that made sense. Usually, how this works was confusing even for him sometimes. And that is why I knew you'd be able to handle this secret. I've been testing you for the past while to see if you are worthy of something greater, he said. Izuku reached into his pocket and grabbed out a piece of parchment. He bit into his thumb, causing the others to wince. He let the blood drop to the paper, causing a large symbol to appear on it with a dull glow. He looked at the others with a serious gaze. We're gonna have to do this somewhere private. We're heading to the training area, he said. The others nodded and followed him soon afterward. It didn't take them that long to head to the training area. Izuku placed the piece of paper down in front of him as he sat with his legs crossed. It seemed serious as he did this. Now, I need you guys to promise me that no matter what happens. My orders matter. I'm not going to tell you guys what to do, but when I do, I want you guys to listen, he explained. I'd be an idiot not to, Kaminari deadpanned. He was kind of scared of Izuku, if he was going to be honest. If he disobeyed his orders, then he'd probably die or something. He's a bit outclassed when it came to the Dragon King, especially after finding about the whole having a contract with dragons thing going on. First, it was his school being a place of quirkism. Then it was being taught by the principal of U.A of all things after his school was shut down because of quirkism, and now this? What other weird, bizarre things are going to happen in his life now? Don't answer that. He doesn't want to know what else is going to happen. Well, glad to see you're not freaked out by this, Izuku chuckled. I'm still very freaked out. I'm just calm because I know at this point I might as well go along with this, Kaminari said with a huff. Right? You do that. Now. Just take an oath and the rest should be history, Izuku said. He then gestured to them with a wide smile, something that made them ease up slightly while still keeping a sort of formal stance to all of this. Now, who's first? He asked. I might as well, Bakugo said with a slight shrug. He walked up and sat down in front of Izuku. The Dragon King gestured for him to place his hand on the parchment. It then began to glow brightly at this. He looked at his childhood friend in front of him with a serious gaze. It was met with the same serious gaze from him. Bakugo Katsuki, do you solemnly swear to uphold the ideals of a Ryu's Mayo? He asked. I swear, Bakugo said in a solemn tone. Good. The ideals of the Ryu's Mayo are these. Do not kill for pleasure nor fun but for honor. Do not defile people. Do not use your newfound power for personal gain. And hold the pride of a dragon within you. Do you accept these? Izuku asked. I accept them as a whole. Bakugo responded with a nod. Good. And finally, do you swear to protect the innocent from harm, even at the cost of your own life? Izuku asked. Yes, Bakugo said, determined. Then this contract is sealed. May the dragons grant you favor, Izuku said with a stoic nod. The mark glowed a bright red before dulling back to black. Bakugo suddenly felt something change. He shifted his shirt. A dark red mark appeared on his right pectoral. It was the mark of a dragon. He felt more powerful. He even felt a few things unlock within him. He put up his hand and a flame appeared in it. It was a dark red with a blazing orange in the middle. It seems you know how to channel hellfire, Izuku mused. What? Bakugo asked, confused. Each person who accepts the mark has their own element to control. You're within the domain of fire and you can channel hellfire. It's an interesting aspect when it comes to these sorts of things, Izuku explained. Huh. That's pretty fucking awesome, Bakugo said with a grin. Yes, just remember to not abuse this power. If you do, then not only will the mark fade but other aspects about you will be weakened, Izuku said in a deathly serious tone. Trust me, I've learned my lesson about having power, Bakugo said softly. Izuku nodded as felt a sense of pride at his growth after he disappeared so long ago. He looked at the others and gently gestured to them. Who's up next? He asked. After a while, everyone managed to get their contracts and their marks appeared on different parts of their bodies. Mina's appeared on the center of her chest, Kirishima's on his right shoulder, Kaminari's on the center of his back, and Siro's on his lower abdomen. They even had their own color, making it a bit more unique. Mina's was dark pink, Kirishima's was a bright red, Kaminari's was yellow, and Siro's was black. They each had a pretty amazing element to control. Mina had the power to control mist while being under the water domain, Kirishima had the power to control rocks under the earth domain, Siro had the power to control wind under the air domain, and Kaminari had lightning under the energy domain. They had more power under their belt and had a lot more strength to do things. Mina even gained a six-pack because of this. They were pretty strong and ready for U.A along with becoming heroes. Though this did leave Izuku with a dilemma. Should he give the mark to Aizawa and Hizashi? They seem fine on their own, but he felt as though giving them more power would help in the long run. He decided to leave it for now and focus on other aspects of his life. He had decided to go shopping for some items. It was a pretty quiet day. He looked down at his list as he was at the local grocery store. I think that's just about everything, he said to himself. Hey, do you know where the paper towels are? A voice asked. Izuku looked over and saw a girl with pink hair. He hummed slightly. Should be over in the next aisle, he said, pointing slightly. Thanks, and you mind if I ask you another question? She asked with a raised brow. Go right ahead, Izuku said with a shrug. Are you a dragon contractor? She asked calmly. Izuku's eyes widened. He then silently nodded. The girl smiled and bowed soon afterward. Hatsum Mei of House Kaguya greets the esteemed dragon contractor, she said in a formal tone. Ryuken Izuku greets Hatsum Mei of House Kaguya the same, Izuku said with a slight bow. The two looked at each other a moment. Hatsum hums as she looks him over. So you're the newest Dragon King. Which dragon do you have a contract with? She asked curiously. All of them, Izuku said simply. Huh. Well, I guess that makes sense. None of them have been seen, and since you're a worthy candidate then, obviously all of them are a pretty good choice. All right, Ryuken. I think I have an offer for you. Hatsum asked with a smile. Shoot, Izuku said simply. You want to see my babies? Hatsum asked casually. Izuku looked at her very confused. She then remembered that she wasn't talking to someone that knew here. Sorry, I meant my inventions, that's what I call them. Hatsum said a bit sheepishly. Huh, you're an inventor, Izuku stated simply. Yep, been born into it since my family was a line of blacksmiths. They actually made your weapons and armor, Hatsum said with a grin. Well, thanks I guess, Izuku said sheepishly. My family is honored to do it. I can make stuff for you since my family is a line of blacksmiths under Gyo. I think making you and other people's stuff would be nice. Plus I think we have a few old books you can learn from, Hatsum said. Izuku nodded at this and stuck out his hand. She shook it soon afterward. The two exchanged numbers and went their separate ways. Daku appeared nearby him on his shoulder with a grin. She seems like a worthy candidate for Dragon Queen, he said teasingly. She's not exactly my type. She's nice, but I think I'm getting more little sister vibes than anything else, Izuku said simply. You're no fun, Daku said with a pout. Izuku rolled his eyes and continued on with his day. At least he made a friend today. Plus they were related to the people that made his armor and weapons, so that's pretty cool in his opinion. Maybe he can have her make him some weapons for the others in case they get into a serious fight? That'd be a good gift to give them since they are his friends and compatriots. Chapter 8. Dragon's Metallurgy. Izuku hummed as he looked at his sword. It was known as Wirm Slayer, and it was called that because it slew many WRMs in its day. The blood on it had been soaked into the metal, turning it black and giving it a controllable poison nature. All of the Dragoon weapons have a name and a pretty interesting story about its existence with a power it gained. The chakrams were known as Orochi. Not only was it based around the legend of the original, but based around the sea serpents that existed deep within the ocean. It was made from their bones, thus giving it the power of water and the power to be sharper than nearly any blade in existence. The staff was made from the giant fang of a legendary dragon known as Bahamut. Not much was known about the dragon itself, but the staff had the power to cast any element in existence. It was known as Gadian no Yoso, or Elements of the Guardians. The spear was made from the bones of the Abzu. It gave it the power to return to the wielder at will along with control over wind. It could even copy itself for a style known as the Nanatsu no Yoso no Ryu, or the 7 elements of the dragon. It was called Hibi no Shippo, or Serpent's Tail. The armor was made from each part of the Dragon Guardians, with the leggings and gloves having special qualities. The helmet was made from the Fang of Daku, an eye of Nanakes, it healed later, and a scale of Meiho. The chest plate was made from one of Keen's hearts, the claw of Leviathan, and a horn from Meiho. The gloves were made from Gyo's scales, his blood, and his flesh, making it near indestructible along with the other pieces. The leggings were made of scales from each of the Dragon Guardians, making it the more elementally resistant and powerful of all the parts. It was interesting to hear about all of them, though that's not what he was focusing right now. He was thinking more about giving weapons to his friends. He had a feeling that they would need them in case they were attacked by something inhuman or evil enough to try and seriously kill them. He had heard of legends of old monsters that would try and kill dragons. Yokai did exist, but they were more hidden and kept away from the matters of humans. Regardless, he knew that he needed to get them weapons in case that day had come. How to go about it was the question here. Should I tell them, or should I just be subtle? Izuku asked himself. If I were you, I'd get them those weapons quick. Yo deadpanned. Izuku sighed, annoyed at this, while giving the spirit head floating nearby him a quick glare. I don't want to betray their trust, he said. He's not exactly wrong, you should get them those weapons, Meiho said. Yeah, but what if they don't want them because of the fact they're weapons? Izuku asked. It'd be understandable if they didn't, but they would have to understand the possible dangers of being involved with dragons. They have the mark, meaning that they're associated with you. Dangerous creatures would sense this and try to kill them. Daku said darkly, heh. All right, I'll talk to them about it. Hatsum should help with this since she has her grandfather's notes. Izuku said. That's the spirit. Now go off and get them some good weapons. Nanakes cheered. Izuku nodded and willed away his weapon, coming down from the roof and heading inside. He liked to hang out on the roof whenever he needed to think. Aizawa noticed him coming and smiled slightly. Got your head cleared? He asked. Yeah, Izuku said simply. Good, whatever you're about to do. Do it before dinner, Aizawa said. Izuku nodded and headed out. He had a plan for today. He needed to get the others, get them to Hatsum's place, explain to them what he's wanting to do and have them understand why he's doing it, have their weapons made and go home soon after. It may be a lot easier said than done, but he'll do his damnedest to make sure his friends are safe from any possible harm that may come their way. It's on his honor as a Dragon King to do this. Later. So you met an inventor and want to introduce us to her? Kirishima asked. Currently, the group was walking towards her place. Izuku had already talked to her family, and they were also aware of him being the Dragon King, while they weren't a dragon clan. They were quite understanding of it and let him hang out there when it was a good time to be there. They were also made aware of what Izuku was going to do with his friends and their daughter and were okay with it. They understood the dangers of being related to dragons. The weapon making was basically greenlit because of that. Izuku nodded in response to his red-haired friend's question. His hair had changed into that color after he got that mark. In fact, ever since getting that mark, everyone had a subtle change in physical appearance aside from muscular structure. Mina's eyes glowed in dark rooms. Siro's teeth were slightly more pointed. Kaminari's hair grew deeper in color with his eyes having sparks of electricity come out of them sometimes when he used his quirk or power. Bakugo's eyes gained a slight orange tint with him having slight flames come off his breath whenever he was in a high emotional state. Yeah, that's what I'm wanting to do, he said simply. Okay, nerd. I get a feeling that there's more you're leaving out, Bakugo said with a raised brow. Izuku flinched at that. He knew he couldn't get away with not telling them for long. He sighed and looked at the others with a slightly stoic gaze. We're here to get you some weapons, he said. Wait, why? Mina asked shocked. Look, there's a lot of dangerous creatures out there. You never know of one of those creatures that hate dragons will attack you. They can sense the mark you have and therefore attack you for being associated. Izuku explained. That makes sense, Siro said. Why bring us here for that? Isn't there a blacksmith you know or a forge you can go to? Why an inventor? Kaminari asked. I don't know how to forge weaponry, and that blacksmith I do know of is actually that same inventor. She's related to the same people that made my armor and weapons, Izuku explained. Huh. Well, that's useful at least, Kirishima said. I think I know what weapon I want, Bakugo said. Really? Izuku asked. Yeah, I'm wanting a hammer, Bakugo said with a grin. I'm thinking maybe a sickle should work, Siro said. It would be awesome to have a bow and arrow. I'm already badass at archery, Mina said. I'm fine with a throwing knife or two, Kaminari said. Knuckle dusters, Kirishima cheered. Izuku chuckled at their enthusiasm. He was glad to have already gotten the materials for them 2 weeks back. May wanted to study them for not only historical purposes but also blacksmithing purposes. It was a variety of pure metals that were thought to be of myth, scales of ancient existing dragons, feathers of magical creatures never thought to have existed, bones of powerful monsters, and ancient blood of once well-known creatures of the dark. So this would actually be convenient to do for her in the long run among the fact they would be pretty durable. They soon arrived at her house. They didn't live in the city but rather the nearby mountains. They figured it would be not only a pretty nice place to live but also a nice place for May to invent and blacksmith. They went around the house and went to the backyard where a blacksmithing forge was set up. May was sitting there on a table, hammering away at something. He picked it up. It was a metal plate. After examining it, she nodded and gently placed it on a stack of metal plating. She looked over and saw Izuku with his friends. Hey Ryu, she said. May, I've brought my friends over to introduce you, and they have the mark, Izuku said stoically. So they're the ones who have the Ryu's Mayo? Neat, name's Hatsum May. I'll be your blacksmith for today, May said. After being told each weapon they want, she got to work on them, forging them using the ancient materials she was given after she was done. She lined the weapons up. The warhammer had a bright red head with the handle being a subtle darker red. Wrapped it was an orange cloth. Bakugo picked it up with both hands and got a good feel for the weight. He felt the power of flames run through it. That warhammer is made of pure adamantine. It's pretty strong and normally would be slow, but thanks to the blood of a few sylphs and harpies, it should be fast enough for you to use. It's also conducive to your fire, May explained. Bakugo hefted it over his shoulder and looked on with a proud look. I'm calling it Bangu Bangunobumu, he said. May nodded. Next up was a sickle with a bright green blade and a dark green handle. Wrapped around it was a yellow cloth. Zero picked it up and felt wind flowing through it. It was extremely light and quick. That sickle is made of mithril. It is strong, but it's also pretty quick. I managed to have a few griffin feathers placed into it, giving it the power to make wind sickles when you slash it. It can channel your wind, as you could probably tell, she said. Zero hummed in thought before nodding. I think Arashi's Goken should work, he said. May shrugged and moved on to the next weapon. The bow was made of dull pink metal with a bright pink wrapping around it. Mina picked it up and felt power run through it. She drew back the bowstring and a pink arrow appeared in it. That bow is made of a 50% dragon bones and 50% oraculum. It gives you the power to make magical arrows. It has the blood rock in it, meaning those arrows fire really fast, she explained. Mina focused on changing the element of the arrow. It went from a bright pink to an azure blue. She then changed it back to its usual pink before letting it dissipate. She lifted up the bow slightly. Its name shall be Eijo's Maku, she said. May clapped for a few moments before moving on. The next item was a set of throwing knives. It had a bright yellow dark blue gradient blade with a dull yellow handle. Wrapped around it was black wrapping. Kaminari picked it up and felt the power of electricity run through them. He then began to thinking about manipulating them. They began to float around him slightly. He grinned at this. As you can see, you can manipulate them using electromagnetic energy emitted from your own frequency. They can be electrified and you can cause them to make bolts of energy shaped like them for even more attacking. You can also hook electrical energy to it for a rope-like quality to hook onto things, May explained. Kaminari floated one of them into his hand and looked at it with a smile. I'll them then Rajan's bolts, he said. Good name, May said simply. She moved on to the final weapon, a pair of gauntlets. They were a dull red and a bright blue. He picked them up and placed them onto his hands. He felt the power of the earth run through them. Now these are special. I figured that you'd want something with a lot of strength. So not only did I combine both cobalt and adamantite, but I also put the blood of a titan within it, May said. Awesome, Kirishima said. May then handed Izuku something. He looked at her confused as it was wrapped. She just kept smiling and gestured for him to open it. He opened it and it was a shield. It was a bright blue gradient shield. It had the symbol of the Dragon King painted onto it. He could feel power radiate within it. I figured you'd need a defensive item besides that armor, so I made you a shield. I didn't name it like with the others, so name it as you will, May explained. I'll call it Tatsu, Izuku said. A fine name. Now, a thing I should mention it. It is bound to you and it is made for throwing at things. Meaning you could throw it at a wall and it'll bounce right off. Plus you can channel elemental energy into it. You could set it on fire and just throw it at someone for a terrifying effect, May explained. Thanks, Izuku said with a smile. No problem, just fulfilling my birthright. If you ever need any more equipment or need anything repaired somehow, come to me and I'll fix them right up again. The notes I have should help me repair anything broken, May said. Izuku nodded. The group then headed off. Kirishima looked at his gauntlets with a slight hum. Where am I supposed to keep these? He asked. Oh, that's easy. Store them in your mark, Izuku said. Kirishima blinked. He focused on storing them on his mark. In a bright red flash, they disappeared. He smiled as he looked at his friend with a thumbs up. "Thanks," he said. "No problem. Just summon them when needed," Izuku said. Everyone else nodded and stored their weapons away. They then began to talk about the usual things such as new heroes that have been coming out, All Might, and other various things. Izuku hummed to himself as he sat with Nizu. He had finished his schoolwork already, with the others not too far behind, and was drinking tea with the principal of UA. The strange headmaster looked at him confused. "What are you thinking about, Ryuken?" he asked. Nothing much, just wondering about the future. I mean, we've already technically graduated from middle school by now, but I'm wondering what Udata will hold for me and the others for when we attend." Izuku wondered. An understandable inquiry. U.A will be able to help nurture your growth and boost your abilities, though you six already have been making leaps and bounds in growth. Nizu explained. "Yeah, I am curious. Why did you have the others attend classes you hold with me? I understand why I'm here, technically son of a pro hero and all of that, but why the others?" Izuku asked. "Simple, they all contain potential. Ashido has the potential to be a figure of empathy. She gets along with anyone and holds no judgment towards those without quirks and holds judgment in the right places. Zero is certainly worthy of being a rescue hero. He holds the passion for saving others and the skills to do it. Kaminari seems like the type of hero to help those that he can with not his quirk but rather his words. Bakugo has the potential to become a figurehead in self-improvement. He was once a violent boy and now he's calm and level-headed. Kirishima definitely can become a figure of passion by not only his sense of honor but his sense of self also, along with his nigh unbreakable hope." Nizu explained. "That certainly makes a lot of sense," Izuku said. "Yes, when you take the exams in 4 weeks, I have a feeling you will all pass with ease," Nizu said. "It's already been 2 years and a couple of months since you've met us? Man, times flies by," Izuku said, amazed. Yes. When life seems to have a sense of order, time seems to move by quite quickly. It gets worse as you grow older," Nizu said, sipping his tea soon after. Izuku blinked at this before sipping his tea soon after. "Yeah, I'm pretty excited to attend UA. I mean, this has been my dream since I was a kid," he said. "And I can see that you're dedicated to doing your best is quite admirable. I dare say your dedication is quite inspirational," Nizu said. "I feel as though that's a bit of an over-exaggeration," Izuku said with a shrug. "When you start attending, you may find the statement to be a bit wrong later," Nizu said. Izuku raised an eyebrow before sipping his tea again. They then moved on to other topics. The Dragon King did have quite a few thoughts to go over. He did need to do something important before Udata starts. "I need to go to my mother's grave. I haven't visited it since coming back," he thought to himself. He nodded soon after as Nizu rambled on about the school board and Karen's for a while. He was going to go to his mom's grave and visit her after all this time, and that's a promise he will damn well keep. Chapter 9, OP and ED1. Izuku is sitting on the ground before he gets up and begins to walk. Several orbs follow behind him before going into him, causing his wings to fly out. He flies forward with a boom behind him as he goes towards the sun over a forest. It then changes to the title, Dragon King Hero. He's then walking through various locations with members of Class 1A and Class 1B following behind him, all with their usual looks on their faces. Izuku looks up the sky in thought, remembering something, and nodded. He continues on with various locations still going by. He's then walking up a mountain and looks up at the sky. He lifts his hand up as he sees an image of his mother. He smiles right before it is replaced by a villain, which causes the sky to turn dark. He sighs before growing wings and flying off. He's then walking through the rain alone before it goes away with the sun shining down. He looks up to see his friends and teachers along with allies alike standing in front of UA. He smiles and runs towards them before standing in front of them with a peace sign as the dragons faintly appear over them. It changes to a dragon symbol with a sword behind it. It glows brightly soon afterward as the sword shines slightly, and then it disappears into the dark. Play Persona 4. A Corner of Memories. Izuku is initially sitting in the classroom alone before everyone else shows up sitting in their usual spots, everyone in different colors relating to them. He's reading a book while everyone else chats, sleeps, or waits for class to start. Some are working at the nearby desk on paperwork, among other things. Mei is working on an invention of some kind. The sun is shining through a window nearby onto where Izuku was reading while lighting up the rest of the room. This goes on for a bit before Izuku closes his book and gets up, his eyes glowing with a grim look on his face as symbols of the dragons appear around him with the world around him being dark. He nods grimly and walks off soon after. Chapter 10. Dragons of U.A. A young man with black hair wearing a hoodie with a scale pattern on it, with a pair of dark blue pants and red boots, was crouched near a grave. On it was a picture of a woman with green hair. On the grave was the name Midoriya Inko, and on the grave was a bouquet of flowers. The young man sighed as he looked at the grave. "Hey, Mom. It's been a while, huh?" he said. The grave did not respond. He didn't expect it to respond anyway. "I know I should have visited sooner, but a lot of things happened and I kind of forgot. But better late than never, huh?" he said. After a few moments of silence, he sighed. "I'm going to be going for U.A and I'm going to try for the hero course. Like I always dreamed, I hope to make you proud," he said. Another few moments of silence. He shed a small tear as he got up. "I've got to go now. Exam's gonna start in a little bit. Wish me luck," he said. He then began walking away, not noticing a spirit smiling at him while floating over his mother's grave. "Good luck, my son," she said softly. She then disappeared, having finally met peace after being nothing but a wandering spirit for a long time. Play opening 1. The young man began running towards the school. He looked forward with a wide smile on his face. He walked forward soon after, excited to participate in the exams. He was gonna accomplish his dreams, even after everything that happened to him. "Hi, my name is Ryuken Izuku. That's my current name anyway. My old name was Midoriya Izuku. I have a contract with the 7 Dragon Guardians and have to become the Dragon King. I'm wanting to be a hero also, so this was somewhat of the best way to be both. I was gone for a long while, but I came back and well, a lot of things happened because of that." "Hey Izuku." Izuku turned around to see an ash-blonde boy waving casually with a red-haired boy running alongside him with a pink-skinned girl, a black-haired boy, and a blonde boy with a thunderbolt in his hair. The ash-blonde wore a black tank top with a red belt with pouches on it and a pair of dark green pants. He wore a pair of black shoes completing the set. The girl wore an open pink tracksuit top with a magenta shirt underneath. She had a pair of light green shorts and a pair of sneakers on it. The red-haired boy wore a bright red tank top with a pair of black jeans with some dark red running shoes. The black-haired boy wore a white t-shirt and a pair of blue jeans with some running shoes. The blonde wore a yellow tank top with a black thunderbolt on it with a pair of cream pants and black shoes. "These are my friends. One of them I've known since childhood. Kirishima is the red-haired one, Mina is the girl, Shiro is the black-haired boy, and the blonde is Kaminari. Bakugo is my childhood friend and is the ash blonde." Bakugo walked up to Izuku with a wide grin on his face. "Ready to destroy this thing, nerd?" he asked. "You know it," Izuku said. The two high-fived soon afterward. They began to walk inside and talk a little. The Dragon King suddenly noticed something and moved his hand up slightly, causing a gust of wind to move up. Nearby, a girl that was tripping got back on her feet. Izuku smiled and walked over, causing her to look at him. "I saw you were tripping and decided to help you with my quirk. You okay?" he asked. "Yeah, thanks," she said with a smile. Izuku's face gained a small blush. He rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. "It wasn't a problem. Just doing what I usually do," he said. "Well, thanks again. I'm Uraraka Ochako," she said. She stuck out her hand. Izuku shook it with a small grin on his face. "Nice to meet you. I'm Ryuken Izuku." "I hope we'll be classmates," Uraraka said cheerfully. "I think someone like you in my class would be awesome," Izuku said with a smile. Uraraka blushed slightly. The two talked for a few moments more before he went back to the group. They continued walking towards you. Soon after, Bakugo had a bit of a smug grin as Izuku talked to the others. He leaned in slightly, causing the Dragon King to look at him confused. "Yes, Bakugo?" he asked. "So, you and that girl, huh?" Bakugo asked with a wry grin. "I was just helping her," Izuku deadpanned. "Don't think I didn't see that blush on your face when she smiled," Bakugo said mischievously. "I was feeling sheepish," Izuku said calmly. "Pfft, sheepish my ass. You've helped out plenty of females before this. You're in love v," Bakugo said teasingly. Izuku glared at him, annoyed with him laughing. Soon after, Kirishima faintly chuckled with Mina smiling widely. She leaned slightly towards Shiro as the explosive boy began to tease Izuku. "I ship it," she whispers. Kaminari, meanwhile, looked on with a slight pout while Izuku swiped at Bakugo, annoyed while going on about, "She's just a girl. Sure, she looks cute, but she's just a girl." With Bakugo responding about, "You just admitted she was cute, Izuku," in a deadpan tone. "Ryu's getting all the girls," he mumbled. Izuku growled angrily before crossing his arms with a huff as he looked away from a smug-looking Bakugo. "Let's focus on the exams," he said. Bakugo just chuckled while walking inside with the others. Already this day was going to be interesting for a lot of people. Later, Izuku was readying himself for the exam ahead. President Mike stepped onto the stage and looked at his audience. He could even stop Izuku in the distance. He smiled to himself slightly. "Go get him, kiddo." He's excited to see all that training Izuku had be put into action, especially with his side. He remembers when Izuku was trying to dissect Shadow Wave to learn Fire Surge. Now he's able to do both 2 years later. He's proud of him for taking the time to learn it, and he's even more proud of taking his time and meeting people he could trust. He was happy to meet Bakugo and the others when they came over one day. He cleared his throat and grinned at his audience. "Welcome to the hero exams. Can everyone give me a hey?" he cheered. "Hey-ya!" Izuku and his group cheered. President Mike grinned even more as people looked at Izuku's group as if they were crazy. He pointed towards them in a stylish way. "Thank you, examinees," President Mike said cheerfully. Izuku waved cheekily while everyone else just grinned. A few people judged them, but others admired them for their courage. The sound-based hero then began to explain the exam. Izuku was alone. His other friends had to be in different testing areas, but he knew they would handle things. Currently, he was in a video phone call with Mei as she's practically finished her exam already. He decided to ring her up before his exam began. "So how's the shield?" Mei asked. "Great, already did some testing with it. It works well with all sorts of elements." "Pretty good work," Izuku said. "What can I say? It's my birthright," Mei said. "I mean, you're not technically wrong, but you really don't have to go that far, you know?" Izuku said. "And I repeat, it's my birthright," Mei said. Izuku deadpanned at this and sighed with a slight chuckle. "Well, I'll leave you to whatever. I'm gonna hang up now," he said. "All right, and good luck. Kick some robot ass for me," Mei said. Izuku then hung up with a small smile. He then felt a hand on his shoulder. He glanced over to see a boy with blue hair looking at him with a slight glare. The Dragon King merely raised a brow. "Can I help you?" he asked. "Do you think this is a game?" the boy asked. "I'm not sure what you're talking about," Izuku said, a bit confused. "This exam, you call someone, you act casually. This is not a game," the boy said. "Already I hate this kid," Daku said, annoyed. Izuku looked at the bluenet, a bit annoyed at what he just said. "Okay, first off, I've been training my ass off for the last few months. I'm not thinking of this exam for a good reason. Second, I was calling a personal friend of mine, and I wanted her to wish me some luck before the exam. Third of all, I act casually because even though this is an important exam, I don't need to act as though there's a stick up my ass," he said, disgruntled. The boy backed off slightly, a little surprised by the anger he was giving off. He glared at the Dragon King a little harder. "How rude," he said. "Pot meat kettle, you're both black," Izuku deadpanned. "What?" the boy asked. "I mean, you come up to me, Act as though I'm just some asshat who thinks they're better than everyone else, try to tell me off and fail, and then act as though I'm the rude one? Izuku said, starting to get a little angry. Fear started to fill the boy as he noticed the glare the Dragon King was giving him. So here's some advice. Maybe your knees wouldn't be so sore if you didn't jump to conclusions every 5 seconds. Now if you excuse me, I have an exam to participate in. If you are done bothering me, that is, Izuku said. The boy bowed slightly before walking away. He knew that he was fighting a losing battle, and thinking about it, he was somewhat in the wrong. Nobody reprimanded him before, so what gave him the right? He sighed slightly at this thought process. When or if they are in the same class, he's gonna have to apologize for his behavior. The gate suddenly opened. Izuku grinned to himself as he summoned his sword and shield, making everyone gawk at him. Green feathery wings sprouted from his back and he flew forward. Looks like examinee number 1918 decided to take charge and fly forward. Go little Ryu. Present Mike cheered. This then prompted everyone else to go forward. The boy looked at Izuku as he slashed right through a three-pointer with ease. He mentally sighed to himself as he knew he had to do well on this. I need to get through this in order to apologize, he thought to himself. Meanwhile, All Might saw Izuku charging forward and destroying the robots with an amazed look. He looked at a file in his hand. He knew this was the same Izuku that went missing a while back, but he had quite a few questions. For one, his legal name now was Ryuken, meaning he had changed it for some reason. 2. His father had technically abandoned him, which was strange in his eyes. 3. The abilities he has don't match up with the description of his quirk along with how it works. Regardless, he noticed how he acted. The boy had managed to not only get enough villain points but also managed to get a bunch of rescue points for fun. He saved people by throwing chakrams, his shield, and even using a staff to fire out bolts of energy. He's a pretty interesting candidate to have his quirk. Maybe he can convince him if he talks to him. Aizawa, meanwhile, was grinning slightly. My son is kicking some major ass, he said. Wait, he's your son? Snipe asked. Legally speaking, yes. His father technically abandoned him, and since his mom is dead, I had adopted him. I even did the paperwork to become his legal guardian, Aizawa explained. Yeah, I've seen him around. He's training quite a lot, Namuri said. Huh. That's pretty amazing. So, how strong would you say he is? Vlad King asked. Let me put it like this, the 0-pointer wouldn't even last a second, Aizawa said. Oh, definitely. That Bakugo kid is doing well with the others, President Mike said. They are pretty strong, Nizu said. They went back to focusing on the test that was going on currently. Back with Izuku. Izuku sighed as he casually walked along. Suddenly a bunch of one-pointers surrounded him. He cracked his neck and got out Hibi no Shippo. He twirled it slightly and pointed it at one of them with a cocky grin. He ran forward and stabbed it into their eye. He jumped off and went on to another one. He lit his fist on fire and punched the robot, melting some of the metal. Izuku fired off a bolt of thunder at another. He grabbed his spear and threw it at another before jumping off that speak and kicking right through another one. His spear suddenly spun around him and was sent flying at another. He then fired off a few bolts of electricity at some more one-pointers. He then set one on fire with a simple snap of his fingers. He manipulated the earth below him and crushed one in front of him. He cartwheeled from one that was about to hit him. Wind gathered around him as he pushed his arms forward, causing sickles of wind to rend the robot into nothing but a pile of scrap metal. Izuku ran over to another one and kicked its head off before throwing his spear straight through it. He focused energy into his arms. Ki Ryu technique. Light overdrive. He boomed. He punched through a series of robots before grabbing one and throwing it at another with ease. He landed soon after and casually brushed himself off with a light sigh on his breath. Gotta admit, was expecting somewhat more of a challenge. Should be expected for an exam, but still, I over-prepared, he said to himself. Maybe that 0-pointer will provide a challenge? Kane suggested. Maybe, Izuku responded. He then continued on his way before seeing other people run. He looked forward and saw the 0-pointer. He grinned widely as he readied himself to fight it. He then saw Uraraka trapped under some rocks. He walked over and manipulated the rocks off of them. He then healed her of any injuries that she had. "You okay?" he asked, concerned. "Thanks. I didn't know you could heal," Uraraka said, amazed. "I can do a lot of things. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a giant robot's ass to kick," Izuku said as his bloodlust grew. But that thing's huge," Uraraka said, shocked. "I think I can handle it," Izuku said with a confident grin. She blushed at this slightly before seeing him step forward. He let the spear float around him. It then changed color from a deep red to a bright red with wisps of flames. Other spears then appeared around him. All of them a different color with a different element. One was yellow with energy radiating off of it, another was white with gray wisps coming off of it, one was black with black wisps coming off of it, one was green with wind blowing around, one was blue with streams of water swirling around it, and one was brown with rocks floating around it. They all swirled around him as energy radiated off him, with energy radiating off of him, making him look threatening. "Dragoon technique. Nanatsu no Yoso no Ryu," he said confidently. "Live or die, fight." Izuku began to charge forward. He threw the fire spear forward before grabbing the wind spear right as it hit the chest of the giant robot. He aimed it down, causing him to be launched up into the air with a burst of wind below him. He grabbed the white spear and began firing off a ball of white energy, all of them hitting the zero-pointer, causing it to move back slightly. Izuku changed over to the black spear, causing a shadow to appear behind him after he raised it upward. Shadow point. The shadow became sharp as the tip of a spear and pierced through the zero-pointer. Izuku changed over to the water spear and slashed it, causing a beam of blue energy to come out with slight bits of water coming off the edge. It hit the zero-pointer, causing it to move back even more, with damage being inflicted on it due to its open chest. Izuku grabbed the yellow spear and aimed it upward. Energy builds up in the sky soon afterward. "Thunder strike," he boomed. A bolt of thunder then struck it, causing it to begin to malfunction. Izuku grabbed the one with rocks floating over it, and he threw it at the ground, causing a giant spike to go through the robot's chest. Everyone continues looking at this fight, shocked, wondering what the hell is going on. Earth Crusher. Izuku caused the spears to spin around him. He cast an arm forth as elemental energy built up in the tips of the spears. He grinned widely as energy radiated off of him more, indicating he was charging something up. Dragoon technique. Yoso no Gakido. The energy fires off soon afterward with a large burst of energy going right through the zero-pointer. It not only melts but also begins to freeze, breaks down into pieces, gets torn apart, and curls backward at the same time. Izuku lands on the ground soon afterward, the spears floating gently around him as embers glow around him. The other spears disappear as Serpent's tail returns to his hand. He swings it slightly. Uraraka looks at him amazed. He turns around with a small grin on his face. "Are you not hurt, milady?" is what she thought she heard. "You?" I said, "Are you okay? You've been kind of looking at me for like a minute now," Izuku said. Uraraka snapped out of it and bowed rapidly. "I'm sorry, you shouldn't have gone of your way to save and heal me," she said sheepishly. "I'm trying to be a hero. If I didn't save you, that wouldn't be really heroic now, would it?" Izuku asked. "Alright, I hope to see you in class, Zuku," Uraraka said. She then ran off. He blushed slightly at the nickname. "She called me Zuku," he mumbled. "You're in Louvre V," Nanakase teased. "We're not talking about this. We've got to head home anyway. Hizashi is making katsudon. Meat katsudon," Izuku said. He walked off while humming a slight tune. The Bluinet had seen the battle from afar and clenched his fists as he looked onward with a determined gaze. He began walking off, thinking about what just happened. "I have to get stronger to prove myself. He's clearly much stronger than I gave him credit for," he thought to himself. Meanwhile, Bakugo casually lobbed a ball of fire towards another two-pointer. He sighed as he was sitting on a pile of them. He looked onward with a bored expression. This was a bit easy for him if he was going to be honest. His eyes glanced over at the other examinees. They were having some trouble fighting some three-pointers. He hummed to himself for a moment. He got up and covered his arms in fire. He punched one of the robots away with ease while burning the others with a mighty roar. He looked at the other examinees. "You guys okay?" he asked. "Thanks," one of them said. "No problem. Now be careful. Can't risk your lives here," Bakugo said. He began to walk off. Even that fight was too easy. He felt the ground shake. He looked up and saw the zero-pointer. A feral grin began to glow as his eyes changed to more of a draconic nature. Flames grew around him as he got excited. "Oh, this ought to be fun," he said, flames dancing on his breath. He charged forward and jumped towards it with a mighty roar. That day, the examinees in that area saw someone cackle loudly as they beat a giant robot up. Some of them even withdrew out of fear of one day facing him. Needless to say, he passed. Play ending 1. Our first day of you, huh? How are you so strong? Easy. I trained my hardest. I have an offer for you. What? I want you to be my successor as the symbol of peace. Chapter 11. Through the Fire and Flames. Play opening 1. Izuku has always been a bit of a simple person that could try and take on any challenge, win or lose. Yet this was probably one of the most challenging things he's ever had to do in his entire life. Damn it, he cursed to himself. He tried again. He's been at this for a couple of minutes now, his pseudo-father sighs in annoyance as he stands nearby the door. Do you want me to help you? He asked, slightly annoyed. I have to do this myself. It'd be pretty pathetic if I didn't know how to do this, Izuku grumbled. I'm pretty sure nearly everyone has trouble with this sooner or later. That's why you don't see me wearing a tie normally, Aizawa said. Ugh, it's just a tie. How the hell is this so hard? Izuku said. He's been trying to tie a tie on his uniform for a long while. He's failed multiple times and it's starting to get on his nerves. He tried again and got it at the wrong length. Aizawa sighed annoyed and walked over. He got the tie on properly. Izuku looked at him with an annoyed glare as the man walked back over to the door. There, now let's go already, Aizawa said. Izuku sighed annoyed and the two then headed out. It was time to attend U.A and train to become a hero. Izuku was walking by himself since Shoyuta needed to be there by himself. He looked over at Bakugo, whom wasn't wearing a tie. He then realized he probably didn't have to wear the tie. But he decided to wear it since he didn't want to disrespect the school's uniform requirement. So nerd, how much of your power are you going to show off? Bakugo asked. Not too much. I'm betting today is going to be a light day, as it's the first day, meaning that we're not going to have to work too hard on using our quirks, nor having to use them in interesting ways. Izuku explained simply. Well, we should show off a little, shouldn't we? Bakugo said. If there is a moment where we should, then fine, we'll show off a little. I'm not wanting to come off as cocky or arrogant. Some dragons act like that, and it hasn't always ended well, Izuku said. All right, Bakugo said with a feral grin. Izuku mentally sighed at this. Ever since he's changed, he still had that same show-offy part of his personality. It may be subdued, but it's still there, sometimes in a more annoying fashion. He then heard footsteps. He looked over and saw Kirishima and the rest of the group running towards them. They began to walk together as they began to talk about normal things. You've heard about Empty Lady, right? Kirishima asked. Dude, I sure have. She's smoking, Kaminari said. While you should be saying that, you're not exactly wrong, Mina said. Okay, we're gonna have to talk about that later. But yeah, I've seen Empty Lady in action. She's a lot more suited for rescue work in my opinion, and she seems kind of lazy, Izuku said. Anything about the uses of her quirk? Bakugo asked. Well, her quirk makes her giant. And that's about it. It's not size alteration but just plain gigantification. It makes it a pretty situational quirk. It does make her stronger, but I feel as though that strength would be better used for rescue work. Plenty of people get trapped in rubble caused by villains, so she could lift it up as though it were a pile of pebbles in the right situations. Izuku explained. That makes sense. Kind of sucks that some people go the flashier route when their quirk could be used for so many better things, Zero said. Being relevant is what makes you well known. That's why underground heroes don't get a lot of coverage because they don't have anything flashy going on, Mina explained. That is right, we all have flashy quirks technically speaking. I use electricity. Mina throws acid, Kirishima hardens, Bakugo explodes, and Shiro has tape. Kaminari explained. While Izuku here technically speaking doesn't have a quirk, but dragons, I still find that kind of weird, Shiro said. Izuku looked at him with a slightly blank expression. Kane appeared on his shoulder with an indignant look. I'll have you know that us dragons were considered legendary, and anyone who had a contract with us had plenty of respect on their side, he said indignantly. Kane calmed down. He isn't exactly wrong, Izuku said. And how do you know that? Kane said. Because nowadays, quirks are more well known than mythical creatures existing. Now stop complaining, we have a contractor now, don't we? Daku said annoyed. That's right. And he's in Luv V, Kane said teasingly. They disappeared right as Izuku growled in annoyance. Mina sighed exasperatedly. You really need to stop denying you like that girl, she said blankly. Seriously, where did you guys get that idea? Izuku said annoyed. Ryu, they heard. They looked over and saw Uraraka running towards them. Izuku then had a light blush dusted on his cheeks, as he saw her wave at them with the brightest smile possible on her face. Kaminari leaned over with a wry grin on his face. That's why, buddy, he whispered. Izuku didn't look at him as he smacked the back of his head, causing him to fall over. Uraraka stopped in front of the group with a slight pant. Glad pant, I gasped, caught up with you guys, she breathed. Are you okay? Izuku asked, a bit concerned. Sorry, I haven't gone on a run that often, she said. Izuku grabbed something from his bag. It was a water bottle. He handed it to her and she drank it down like it was a passing fade. She smiled as she breathed out happily. Thanks, she said. No problem, Izuku said. Uraraka looked him with a raised brow as her eyes then glanced over to his friends. So, who are these guys? She asked. Right, these are my friends. You saw me with them before the exam, Izuku said. Oh, it's nice to meet you, Uraraka said cheerfully. I'm Bakugo Katsuki. Ashido Mina. Hanada Shiro. Kaminari Denki. Kirishima Ijirio. Uraraka hummed after hearing those names. She smiled soon after. I'm Uraraka Ochako. I hope we'll be great classmates, she said. I hope so too, Izuku said with a smile. She then joined in walking with the group, getting to know them slightly as they all traveled to Udata together. She looked at them curiously as they were riding the train towards the school. I have to ask, how did all of you meet each other? She asked. Well, I know Bakugo because he's a childhood friend of mine, Izuku said. Yeah, he was gone for a bit but came back recently, Bakugo said. I know Bakubro because we met back in elementary school. He had to change schools because of his last one had some serious quirkist beliefs, Kirishima said. Quirkist? Uraraka asked. Quirkist is basically judging someone based on their quirk. For instance, some mutants like Mina get a lot of problems for looking different than others on a constant basis. Luckily, that hasn't happened to her, Kaminari explained. This can also happen with certain emitter quirks, for instance. Let's say someone had a brainwashing quirk. They'd get called a villain because it brainwashes people, yet they're a really good person. It more likely than not turns them towards villains, Mina explained. And this usually occurs with strong quirks like Bakugo's. Sometimes teachers turn a blind eye to bullying and allow them to hurt others, especially quirkless people, Shiro explained. Oh, that's horrible, Uraraka said, shocked. It is, that's why there were a lot of laws banning it, but sadly, some schools slipped through the cracks. Aldera Junior High is an example of this, Izuku said. I heard about that. The principal's son attacked another student and then accused them of attacking them when they fought back. The police got involved and everything, Uraraka said. Well, take a guess who managed to get that exposed, Bakugo said with a proud grin. He then playfully elbowed Izuku soon after saying that. Uraraka looked at him with wide eyes. You were that student that was attacked? She asked. Yeah, I did fight back. I knew my caretaker that knew another person in the police force that was good at their job. They were called over and took care of everything. Izuku explained. Wow, sorry that happened. Uraraka said. I've had worse happen to me. Izuku said with a shrug. The area was silent for a moment. He then said this. Our first day of you, Dadaha? Yeah, it's pretty exciting being here. Uraraka said. I just hope that we do well today. Siro said with a shrug. Pfft, that'll be easy, Mina said. With a more light-hearted tone, they then continued on their way to school before finally arriving there. They walked through the halls. Izuku hummed to himself as he looked around slightly. Wanna. Where in the world is Wanna? Ah, there it is, he said. They arrived at the door. It was bigger than the average door. Uraraka looked at it, shocked upon seeing it. It's huge like that gate, she said. Must be for kids with quirks that make them pretty big, Kaminari mused. We should walk in, Mina said. They opened the door and soon found the class doing their usual thing. Izuku then saw the blueonette from the exam. The aforementioned person saw him and then walked over. Izuku looked at him defensively. The boy soon bowed, making the Dragon King look at him confused. I'm sorry for the way I acted at the exam, he said. It's fine, Izuku said simply. But still, I shouldn't have acted that way, the boy said. Trust me, I've met worse people. You're good, Izuku said with a shrug. All right. Well, my name is Ida Tenya, he said. Ryuken Izuku. That means Dragon Fist. Interesting, Ida said. Izuku raised a brow. What he didn't notice was that there was a blond boy with a tail looking at him with a stoic expression. They were humming to themselves as they felt a familiar sense. Could he be? I should talk to him later, class is about to start, he thought to himself. Izuku walked over to his seat and sat down, as did the others. Aizawa then rose from the back of his desk, making everyone look at him. He looked at them tiredly. It took you guys 6 seconds to settle down. Not too bad, but still, heroes don't have time to mess around, he said. Everyone else didn't exactly know how to feel about them. The people that did know him gave him a slight deadpan look. Of course, he'd come out from behind the desk. They all mentally deadpanned. Izuku knew this from living with him. The others, they've met him and seen out he's acted. Bakugo didn't know to feel when he saw Aizawa watch one of their spars in a yellow sleeping bag while sipping on a juice pouch. Regardless, he was a good teacher, as he did give them pointers on their combat styles. The underground hero raised a gym uniform soon after. Now, I need you to put these on and head to the field. We're doing a quirk exam, he said. Everyone else looked at him confused, and again the people that knew him deadpanned slightly. Of course, he'd do this on the first day like with everyone else. Izuku had blinked at what he had just been told from Aizawa. They were out here for the quirk exams, and one of them was about to throw the ball, and he was chosen for a specific reason. I got number 1 on the exam? He asked. Didn't your letter mention that? Aizawa asked. No, yeah, it mentioned I passed, but it never said a thing about my score, Izuku explained. That was the one later in the day. Damn it, Aizawa grumbled. He sighed and bridged his nose, annoyed. The other students, including Bakugo and the group, looked at him shocked upon this news. You were the top person in the exam? They yelled. I did fight a whole bunch of the exam's robots while saving people, Izuku explained. I was aware of that, but, Izuku, you didn't tell me you did that well, Bakugo said. I didn't think it'd be important, Izuku deadpanned. Look, your score was 410 points. Apparently, that extra question that you got correct was worth some points, Aizawa explained. Huh. That's pretty cool, Izuku said simply. How are you so strong? A big guy with brown hair asked, shocked. Easy. I trained my hardest, Izuku said simply. Just step up here and throw the ball already, Ryuken, Aizawa said, annoyed. Izuku nodded. He walked up to the circle as he was handed the ball. He looked at it and thought for a few moments. He breathed in, and then out. He channeled wind energy onto it, causing winds around him to shift and change. Some people noticed this somewhat minor change around them. It began as a sort of barrier around it, causing it to float in his hand before it came more compressed. Then, electricity began to spark off of it wildly. It soon spun around the ball. He got into a pitcher stance. His eyes glowed as he prepared himself to throw. He then uttered this. Midoriya oi ryu techinik. Pseudomasuro. He then threw the ball with a loud boom as electricity crackled across the sky with wind moving rapidly behind him like a storm. The ball flew through the sky before disappearing out of sight. Clouds suddenly began to move as sunlight shined down from the sky. Everyone looked up shocked. He had managed to split the clouds using a ball throw. He looked behind him with a grin. How well did I do? He asked. Infinity, Aizawa said dully. Everyone else freaked out and yelled about it. Bakugo and the others merely sighed while looking at him fondly. There's him going overboard again, Mina said with a chuckle. Can't be helped, I guess, Kaminari said with a slight huff. Does he do this often? A girl with black hair tied in a ponytail asked shocked. Well, he hasn't combined elements, but he has gone overboard when it comes to doing things. For instance, when it comes to more hardcore training. He pushes himself to the very limits, not using his quirk but rather his body to fight the best way he can. He trains everything from reflexes to taking a hit, all the way to training his muscles into near tearing themselves into a pretty bad state. Zero said sheepishly. Zuka's more than average, that's definitely certain, Kirishima said with a grin. Why push himself so hard? A boy with spiky brown hair asked. He's dreamed of being a hero for a long time. That's all I can say, Bakugo said with his arms crossed. He knew he couldn't say anymore because of the whole Dragon King thing and because Izuku lost his mom, which was another reason why he's wanting to be a hero. To prevent something like that from happening to another person, and that's a very personal matter. The boy with a tail looked at Izuku with a hum. In his vision, he saw a colorful aura around him. He had a feeling that he knew that color of aura. His family had a special ability to see the aura of all living things. Grass, trees, people, insects, he could see it all in different ways. He could see the intentions of a person, the morality of a person, their life force, their elemental affinity, and the color of their soul. It was a useful ability but one best kept secret from the world. Only those related to him or related to dragon clans knew. And he had a feeling that his number one classmate was related to one of those clans, or possibly something else. He wasn't going to get his knees sore and jump to conclusions. He'll talk to him after class. For now, he has to focus on this quirk exam. This oughta be fun, a small boy with purple hair said cockily. Aizawa glared at him soon after angrily. He didn't like that kid as he saw him trying to look into the girls' changing room. Fun? Well, if one of you gets last, you'll be expelled. Now have fun, he said. The boy paled, as did a lot of other people. They didn't expect this. Only the girl with a ponytail, a boy with heterochromatic hair and eyes, and Izuku and the others knew the truth about this. The boy, meanwhile, mentally sighed. First, I should make sure not to be expelled before I get a chance to talk to him. Later. The quirk exam had finally finished. Everyone did their best and went beyond their limits to try and not be expelled from this school. The ones knew their truth, just went with their full potential to show what they can do. In the end, these were the end results. Ryuken Izuku, Katsuki Bakugo, Kirishima Ejiro, Ishido Mina, Kaminari Denki, Shiro Hanada, Yairozu Momo, Todoroki Shudo, Tenya Ida, Tokoyami Fumikichi, Shoji Mizo, Ojiro Mashireo, Uraraka Ochako, Kota Koji, Sato Rikido, Ashuitsu, Aoma Yuga, Jiro Kyoka, Hagakure Toru, Mineta Minoru. Mineta was laying crying on the ground as he realized he was going to be expelled. Kaminari sighed slightly while looking at him. He glanced over at Izuku. You know, I wonder what would have happened had I ever become friends with a guy like him, he asked. You'd probably be like him and try to perv on girls. At least you have a sense of honor and dignity, Izuku said simply. Yeah, Kaminari chuckled. Aizawa walked over and lifted Mineta up by the collar with an annoyed grunt. You're not being expelled, he said. Really? Mineta said hopefully. It was something I said to get everyone to do their best. Now stop crying. And stop being such a degenerate or else I will expel you. Sexual harassment is a serious crime, Aizawa said annoyed. Thank you, sir, Mineta said gratefully. Yeah, whatever, Aizawa grumbled. He then dropped him and walked away from Mineta slightly annoyed. Meanwhile, Ojiro hummed as he looked at Izuku. He noticed that during the exam, he always sensed a slight shift in his aura when it came to different elements nearly every part of the exam. The strength one he just squeezed enough to barely break it with a few cracks. When he sees someone with a multi-element quirk, their aura shifts to the color of the element they're using. Izuku's barely shifts. It has one prominent color when he uses an element with the others remaining. This meant something important and it was beginning to confirm something. He had a suspicion that Izuku had some relation to dragons, and it started to become more viable with the way he acted. His power, his presence, his general aura along how it shifted and changed, and the hair color he had. Barely any people have hair as black as his, usually it's a few shades lighter but his was black as charcoal. That coloration had a relation to dragons since most people think of the ones that breathe fire. It wasn't exactly a viable theory as some people did have charcoal black hair, but he had a feeling Izuku was one of those people related to dragons. All he needed to do was ask about the mark. Later, Izuku sighed as he washed his hands. Today was a bit of a boring day for him. It's not that the subjects didn't interest him, it was that he had a lot of knowledge involved with them. He was a smart kid, a very smart all things considered. He picked things up easily and he knew a lot about fighting tactics, especially after it was practically beaten into his head by Daku as a way of stopping him from doing reckless things in a fight. When you're alone in the forest for a long time, you tend to try and learn a lot of things on your own. Meaning that he was already at a middle school level of education by the end of what would be his elementary school education. It stagnated for a little bit before meeting Aizawa where he got some new knowledge at the very least. Then Nedzu came along and did his thing. All of that combined, he'd have an early to mid-level of college education. Meaning that he was smart enough to know what he was doing in class. He'd probably be top of his class by the end of the semester. He finished washing his hands and was about to walk out when he saw Ojiro come in. The tailed boy blinked slightly before sighing. Well, I guess there could be a worse spot, he mumbled. What? Izuku asked. Right? Do you have the mark? Ojiro asked. Izuku's eyes widened slightly. He looked at the boy confused. So you're aware of the dragons? He asked. Yep. Mashiro Ojiro of the Chokaku family greets the esteemed holder of dragons. Ojiro said formally. Ryuken Izuku greets Mashiro Ojiro, the same of the Chokaku family, the same. All right. Which dragon? Ojiro asked. All of the dragon guardians. Izuku said lamely. Ah, I see. Well, I'm glad to have gotten that out of the way. Listen, there's a few things my family can teach you. We weren't involved with any of the dragon's elements, but we did worship them. We're aura seers, Ojiro said. Aura seers? Izuku asked. Strange. I thought all of them were killed by them, Daku mumbled. Izuku raised a brow confused. Ojiro didn't flinch as he already had an inkling of what was going on with the Dragon King. Wait. Wasn't the aura seers killed off? He asked. I'm betting one of them asked that question. Yes, the others were killed off. My family line managed to survive. I don't know if others survived, but that's just about it for what I know. What they were killed by is a mystery, Ojiro said. Izuku hummed. He had a feeling that whomever or whatever Daku mentioned wasn't good. He'd have to make sure this isn't something that could possibly kill him, for now. He'll let the issue go. All right, well, after school today, you can teach me. I'll bring my friends since it'll be pretty valuable for them to have, Izuku said. Huh. Do they have the dragon's honor? Ojiro said. Yeah, they have the Ryu's Mayo, Izuku said with a nod. That makes things easier. Aura seeing is not easy without some kind of bloodline trait or affiliation with dragons, Ojiro explained. Right? Well, see you later, Izuku said. He then walked out of the bathroom. He smiled to himself slightly. He made another friend today. He wonders if he can give him the Ryu's Mayo also? Yeah, the mark isn't limited to how many dragons you have. It's pretty flexible, it does depend on morality. If the person is immoral, it'll reject them completely. Kane explained. That answers that question. He'll give it to him when he trusts him enough with it. He barely knows Ojiro, so he doesn't know whether he needs this power boost or not. He can't give everyone a random power boost without considering what would happen. That's why Mineta's never getting one. He'd abuse the hell out of it, or it'd just reject him. The latter would be better than the former if he's going to be honest. For now, he'll have to get to the class he's most excited for. Hero studies, he mumbled with a grin. Izuku got himself geared up in his armor. He decided to use it as his hero outfit since it seemed heroic in his opinion. His spear was strapped to his back rather than being in his mark. It reinforced his Dragoon Knight status even more. Uraraka ran over with stars in her eyes. Wow, Ryu, that's a really cool outfit, she said. Thanks, it's something I was given honestly. It's made out of very tough materials, making it resistant to just about anything really, Izuku said. Yeah, of course. Our stuff is also cool, Bakugo said. Izuku turned around and saw Bakugo with the others. His eyes widened at what they wore. Bakugo wore a tight, black, sleeveless tank top with an orange X across the middle, forming a V-neck. There are 2 dots along the left line of his collar, indicating the support company that designed his costume. His costume also has a metallic neck brace worn with rectangular ends that have 3 holes on each side. His sleeves reached from within his large grenade-like gauntlets to his biceps. His belt, which also carries grenades, holds up his baggy pants with knee guards. He had a pair of knee-high combat boots with orange soles and eyelets on. His mask is jagged and black, and as it goes around his eyes, a large orange-rimmed flare shape protrudes from each side. Around his neck was a bright ripped cloak with bright blue fangs, red beds, and a small necklace. On the back of the cape was a dark red dragon symbol with flames coming off of it. Mina wore a plain white mask over her eyes, and a purple and turquoise skin-tight bodysuit with a camouflage pattern, ending just above her breasts. Over this, she wore a cropped, sleeveless tan-colored waistcoat with white fur along its collar, which was unbuttoned. She has a custom-made plum violet and beige acid-proof boots with holes in the soles, allowing her to secrete acid from her feet to use to slide around. Around her waist was a light brown corset with a silver plate piece with a dragon symbol emblazoned on it with a water drop behind it. Zero wore a black, skin-tight bodysuit with a turtleneck, which is plain apart from a white design on his mid-torso area, and 2 yellow trimmings around each of his elbow-length sleeves. He wears white boots, lined with yellow, and has white short bands around his waist and the sides of his thighs, a larger one across his chest to connect his shoulder pads, which are shaped like tape dispensers. He wore a yellow helmet shaped similarly to his shoulder pads, which had a black visor that was currently up. Over his turtleneck, he wore a gray chest plate with a dragon emblazoned on it with a wind symbol behind it. Kaminari wore a plain white shirt, over which he wears an open black jacket with a white lightning pattern across his back, and matching pants with 2 lines running down his legs. He has a single, square-shaped earphone over his right ear, something resembling a radio antenna sticking out of the top. On his right arm was a bright yellow gauntlet with a dragon symbol emblazoned on the pad with a thunderbolt behind it. Kirishima wore 2 gear-shaped shoulder pads, dark red in color, a jagged sash joining the one in his left to the right side of his belt, which has a red R set into its center. Below this, he wears baggy black pants and half cape with a ripped hem, also sporting dark red boots, multiple thick rings going around his calves. He leaves his chest bare, which showed his dragon symbol on full display, and wears a wired guard around his face, reaching from just above his hairline to below his jaw, an extra piece going over the bridge of his nose, and some spiked pieces around his mouth which resemble little fangs. On his right arm was a red band with a dragon symbol on it with a rock behind it. You guys look awesome. Where did you get the time to have those dragon symbols added on? Izuku asked. Well, we had a meeting and decided that we should have them on, as a symbol of our group, Bakugo explained. Translation: we decided to do this to let you know that we're in this together since we have the Ryu's Mayo. Wow. That's really cool of you guys to do, Izuku said, surprised. Ojiro saw this and hummed. Maybe he should get something put on his GI after he hangs out with them enough. Show he's on their side, also considering that he is an aura seer that knows about the dragons. All Might came forward and looked at their outfits with pride. As they say, the outfit makes the man. Though young Kirishima, when did you get a tattoo? He asked. Oh, this? It was something someone gave me as a gift. I kept it memory of them, Kirishima responded. He gave a wink towards Izuku, indicating that the secret was still kept safe. All Might hummed at this before shrugging slightly. It's not my place to judge. For now, we should start class, he said. Izuku grinned widely at this. He was prepared to kick some major ass. We'll have to draw lots to decide which person is in which team, All Might explained. Why would we have to do that? Ida asked. Simple, we don't know who we're going to work with on the field. So, a randomized selection does prove useful in training us with working with others. We can't make a team dynamic this early in our career. This is the best option for now, Izuku explained. Well said, All Might said, a little shocked. He didn't know what to expect from Izuku. He saw him at the exams and was blown away by his strength, smarts, and capability to be a hero. He's deciding something major, but for now, he has to see him in action a bit more before deciding anything. And so, everyone drew their lots, putting everyone into these teams. Team A, Ryuken Izuku and Uraraka Ochako. Team B, Todoroki Shoto and Shoji Mizo. Team C, Yorozu Momo and Mineta Minoru. Team D, Bakugo Katsuki and Ida Tenya. Team E, Aoyama Yuga and Ishido Mina. Team F, Rikido Sato and Kota Koji. Team G, Kaminari Denki and Kyoka Jiro. Team H, Tokoyama Fumikage and Azui Tsuyu. Team I, Mashiro Ojiro and Hagakure Toru. Team J, Kirsuhima Ejiru and Shiro Hanta. And now that's been decided. Each of you will play a different role in each battle. One group will be the villains and one group will be the heroes. All Might read from a script. Izuku's eyebrow twitched at this. He was reading off a script. Really? He's a terrible teacher, Meiho deadpanned. Oh snap, Meiho just deadpanned, Yo said. The Dragon King knew what that meant. It means Meiho was already sick of this. Meiho is usually a patient dragon, but when it came to matters such as this, it meant she already had a problem with them. Izuku mentally sighed as he just got himself psyched up for a fight. Our first fight will be Team A as the heroes and Team D as the villains, All Might said. Izuku grinned widely as he looked at Bakugo, whom had grinned back. They both knew they were going to fight each other, and it was going to be awesome. Mina and the others, however, paled at this. They knew how this was going to go down. Shiro mentally prayed that they wouldn't go overboard. Kaminari had already pulled a pair of earplugs from his jacket, knowing that they were going to go overboard and that everyone was going to scream loudly over it. He just didn't want to deal with that, not today. What is my life anymore? He thought to himself. Izuku was walking with Uraraka to where they were told to go fight. She looked at him curiously. His gaze turned towards her as he noticed this. What? He asked. I'm curious. How did you meet Bakugo and the others? You guys seem really tight, Uraraka asked. Bakugo is my childhood friend. Other than that, I guess I know him because my mom knew his mom and well, we grew up together for the most part, Izuku said. Oh, what happened? Uraraka asked. I lost my mom. She was killed by someone, Izuku admitted. He didn't know why he was admitting this, but he felt like he needed to get this off his chest. Uraraka looked at him shocked. Really? She asked. Yeah. After that I disappeared, you could say. It wasn't until the start of middle school that I came back. Bakugo had changed because of my disappearance. He was a lot more calm after what happened, Izuku explained. Calm? Uraraka asked. If you want that side, you'll have to ask him. And how I met the others was that Bakugo became friends with them after I left. I became friends with them quickly, especially after our school was closed down. We trained together, we hung out together, we were teens together basically. Izuku said. That's really cool, Uraraka said with a smile. Yeah, they're the best, Izuku said with a fond smile. If you ever need to talk to someone, you can talk to me if you want, Uraraka said. Izuku looked at her for a couple of moments. Before patting her head, he was a bit taller than her, meaning it was easy for him to do. Thanks, he said. Why, you're welcome, Uraraka said with a small blush. She appreciated the head pat for some odd reason. She hated being short, and when people that weren't her parents patted her head. So why did she like this one? She shook off the blush and focused on the future battle ahead. They soon arrived at the building. Izuku looked at her and grinned. You go take on Ida. I'll fight Bakugo, he said. Are you sure you want to fight him? Uraraka asked. It'll just be like any other sparring match. Besides, Bakugo is pretty strong, honestly, Izuku said. Really, in what way? Uraraka asked. There'll be a day that I can tell you. For now, just don't worry about it, Izuku said with an enigmatic smile. Normally, most people would be put off by that, but for some odd reason, Uraraka felt like that enigmatic smile was an attractive force. The way he spoke made her very curious about him and want to get to know him more. She didn't know how to react to this. She simply nodded and the two walked inside the building. After a couple of steps, Izuku stopped, causing her to look at him. What is it, Izuku? She asked. 4 steps to your right, he said. Uraraka, awkwardly move out of the way. Bakugo suddenly showed up with a flaming punch. Izuku blocked it with one hand, causing the fire to go out. His helmet disappeared for a moment. Nice try, he said. Damn it, I wasn't fast enough to catch you off guard, Bakugo growled. Izuku merely moved his head slightly. Uraraka nodded and left. The Dragon King smiled as his helmet reappeared on him. He threw a punch as hard as he could, causing Bakugo to block. He skidded across the ground before moving his arms away, causing slight winds to appear. Bakugo then lit his fists on fire. He got into a fighting stance. You better get ready, Izuku, 'cause I'm gonna win this time, he said. This oughta be fun, Izuku said. Get ready for war. Fight! Izuku charged forward and threw a punch before dodging a counterattack from Bakugo. The explosive teen threw a flaming kick that was dodged with ease. The Dragon King gathered energy from the area around him. Bakugo noticed this and growled. He focused a flame into his hand and cast it forth, causing a trail of flames to follow. Izuku dodged with ease. He then raised his arm up. Rock spike, he uttered. A series of rock spikes trailed along the ground and nearly hit Bakugo. Izuku charged forth and threw a punch, sending the boy backward. The Hellfire user growled as he cast his arms backward with flames coming out of them, making him slow down. He then made explosions, propelling him forth. He shifted into a forward kick, which was dodged by Izuku. He shifted himself across the air and landed with ease. He grinned as he lobbed a fireball forth. Izuku dodged it without a problem. Bakugo lobbed another one, which was soon dodged. This went on for a bit before Izuku stopped and noticed all the flames around him. Bakugo then cast his arm forth. Hellfire Center, he boomed. The flames then shifted towards Izuku, causing it to trail across his skin like snakes. He growled slightly as he felt the heat get intense. He then began to shift the fire outward slightly, to little success. Bakugo chuckled slightly. Thought this worked. I know you're resistant to fire, but not completely, meaning that sooner or later this'll wear you down, he explained. Smart plan, Izuku said. Suddenly, his hair began to shift and move slightly. It slowly turned from its usual charcoal black to a flaming red. It was unnoticed under his helmet. But you forgot one thing. I've had plenty of training before this, meaning that I have an advantage that you don't have. Experience, he said. The flames then exploded off of him and disappeared. Bakugo looked at him shocked. Izuku cast his arm forth with energy glowing around him. Aka Ryu technique. Fire surge, he boomed. An explosion of flame came out of his hand and engulfed Bakugo. After a moment or two, the flames disappeared, leaving a slightly hurt Bakugo. The boy fell to a knee with a groan soon after. He sighed after a few moments of silence. Damn it. You beat me, he said. Yep. Another win for me, Izuku said with a shrug. Yeah. You damn nerd, Bakugo said. Right. I'll go help Uraraka against Ida, Izuku said. Hero team wins, All Might announced. Never mind, well, good fight anyway, Izuku said. Yeah. Good fight, Bakugo said with a nod. Izuku walked over and used Chiyu-tenohira on him, healing him soon after. The boy smiled after he was helped up. The two left and made it back to where All Might was. Zero looked relieved, as did the others. Thank God you two didn't go overboard, Mina said. Wait, what? Ida asked. We sometimes go overboard in our spars, Izuku said sheepishly. Almost burned down a forest once. Luckily, we managed to put it out before then, Bakugo explained simply. Yes, it's good to hold back a little. Though I have to ask, where did young Bakugo gain the ability to control fire? I thought his quirk was explosion, All Might asked confused. Luckily, they had a ready answer in case anyone ever asked that question. It's sort of an advanced thing. I can control flames slightly since my sweat is nitroglycerin and it causes flames and stuff from my explosions, Bakugo said casually. I taught him how to control it better to that point, Izuku said simply. Everyone else nodded with this answer. Only one was skeptical, Todoroki, and he was looking at them with a suspicious gaze as All Might detailed how the Dragon King was MVP of this fight. Especially Izuku, he had a feeling that something wasn't as it seemed. That much he could tell. Team H versus Team J. Kirishima sighed as he and Zero watched as Tsuyu and Tokoyami walked into the room. Dark Shadow was already out while the frog girl had her tongue out slightly. He chuckled slightly as he looked over at his friend. So, Trapper or Battler? He asked. We could end this quick and get to the others. Yeah, Trapper, Zero said. All right, Kirishima said with a chuckle. Before the two heroes could get a chance to attack, they were trapped in rock cages built by the red-haired boy. He had really good control thanks to his training with Izuku and the others. Hence why he developed two styles, Trapper and Battler. Trapper is where he builds traps quickly or finds ways to trap his opponent without fighting them. He doesn't use it often since he considers it unmanly, but other times he has to in order to finish a fight quickly. Battler is where he uses his abilities to fight, catching his opponent off guard with powerful techniques, or using subtle movements to trip them up. That way he can fight more efficiently. Of course, battles sometimes take a while if he's wanting to be less subtle. Either way, they are both good styles in their own rights. Villain team wins. Team E versus Team F. Rikido and Koda were standing in the bomb room, keeping an eye on the door in front of them. Suddenly, a mist came into the room and fogged up the place. The two looked around confused, before they were taken down by the heroes in chokehold from behind. Mina grinned after they were knocked out. She simply touched the bomb. Hero team wins. My, that was a good plan, Aoyama said impressed. Thanks. I learned that from my friends, Mina said with a grin. They are terrifying, Aoyama said a little scared. Yeah, Mina said with a chuckle. Aoyama didn't know how to feel about that. She didn't even deny it. Now he's starting to wonder what the hell kind of people are they. Team G versus Team C. The two heroes stood nearby the door where the bomb room was. Jiro looked at Kaminari with a slight eyebrow raised. You got a plan? She asked curiously. Yeah, you use your quirk to make a bunch of noise to try and distract them. I'll use my electricity to shock and knock them out. I get to the bomb, touch it, and win. You're better at distractions than I am anyway, Kaminari said with a nod. Ha! Good plan, Jiro said impressed. Please, I'm not Mineta. My friends told me to think before I act. Plus I've got other methods of taking them down if you want, Kaminari said with a shrug. True, I think this plan will work, Jiro said with a grin. Okay. Break, Kaminari said stoically. The two ran in to see Mineta holding onto Momo's leg with her looking at him, offended with a bright red blush on her face while he looked perverted. The two merely looked in deadpan as this event occurred in front of them. "Get off," she screeched. "But you're so hot," Mineta said in desperation. "Change of plans. I just knock him out and we just touch the bomb," Kaminari said blankly. Jiro just nodded. The electric teen threw a bolt of thunder and instantly knocked out Mineta with slight smoke coming off of her. Momo looked at them embarrassed before sighing exasperatedly. "Just touch the bomb," she said sadly. "I'm sorry for what you had to go through. Really, it was undeserved," Kaminari said softly. "Thanks," Momo said depressed. Kaminari was about to step forward but stopped. He sighed and shook his head. He turned around and looked at the two with a slightly disappointed look. "This doesn't feel right. Jiro, you just want to forfeit because this isn't even fair, man," he said exasperated. "Normally, I disagree about something like this, but considering what we just saw..." "Yeah," Jiro said, a little sorry for Momo. "All Might, we forfeit," Kaminari said blankly. Okay? Villain team wins. By default," All Might said. "Thanks again," Momo said, looking down embarrassed. "Don't thank me. You want to hang out with my friends later? Trust me, they are nothing like that asshat. Hell, Izuku really cares about people," Kaminari said, glaring at the unconscious Mineta. "That'd be nice," Momo said quietly. That made her feel a little better at least. Why did she get stuck with him of all people? She'll never know. Izuku breathed out happily as he and the others, along with Ojiro, Uraraka, Ida, and Momo, in their homeroom. It was their final class of the day homeroom. They had it twice so they could relax and study for anything coming up or even do homework. Of course, there wasn't homework today, meaning they were able to relax. "Man, school was a doozy. I'm glad I got a good fight today," Izuku said. "Yes. Now, I'm curious, Ryuken. How did you manage to dispel Bakugo's flames so easily when you struggled?" Ida said. Well, since I was wearing a helmet, you couldn't see it, but my hair color changed when I focused on an element. I call it element shift," Izuku said. "Element shift?" Uraraka asked. "Yeah, you see, when I focus in on a particular element enough, my hair color changes to match that element. My hair is normally black to represent that I'm in an all-around state. I'm resistant to all elements, but in an equal manner they can still damage, yes, but it takes a longer period. Regardless, it doesn't help in all situations, like the one I was in before, for instance," Izuku explained. "Right, you were in a pretty bad spot. Then you managed to get out of it soon after," Jiro said. "That's because I focused more in on the fire element. Once I did that meant my resistance for it went into a heightened state, thus allowing me to break free of it easily," Izuku said. "Huh. But there's a catch, right?" Ojiro asked. "Right you are. When I'm in a certain shift, my resistance goes up as said before, but then it leaves me open to damage from other elements. In that state, had Bakugo used some form of water attack, then I would have gotten hurt way more," Izuku said. "So that means you have to keep a careful eye on what you do when shifting. That way you don't get hurt from other elements, thus putting you out of the fight?" Momo mused. "All in one. It's a careful game of strategy. Do I give up an all-around resistance and leave myself open for more pain? Or do I remain in that same state and risk loss? It's all something to consider and roll the dice on," Izuku said. "Regardless of that, you guys nervous about Aizawa's announcement tomorrow?" Kaminari asked. "Yeah, who knows what he could be planning," Mina said, a little nervous. They didn't know what he was going to announce. They knew he wouldn't actually expel anyone from the class that didn't have potential. That much they knew, but they didn't know everything he was planning. Even Izuku was kept out of the loop, and he lives with the guy. Regardless, it can't be worse than possible expulsion, Ojiro said. "Right, but still makes you wonder what's going in that head of his?" Jiro asked. "Usually he's thinking about sleeping, cats, or generally doing nothing," Izuku said blankly. "How do you know that?" Ida asked. "I live with the guy. He's kind of my caretaker after some unfortunate events," Izuku said vaguely. Bakugo and the group knew what he meant and looked at him softly. Ida had a feeling he knew what he meant by that, as did Jiro, Ojiro, and Momo. Uraraka gave him a hug soon after. "It's fine now, right?" she asked. "Yeah. Thanks, Yura-chan," Izuku said. Uraraka blushed slightly at this and laughed nervously. "Yeah, you're welcome. Don't even mention it," she said quickly. Everyone else took a look at the two, and they instantly shipped it. Bakugo even thought this. Those two are cute together. It's like a puppy and a kitten hanging around each other. A puppy that can breathe fire and a kitten that can make someone lose their personal gravity. All Might then walked into the room, making everyone looked at him confused. The number one hero then looked at Izuku. "I need to talk to you about something. And it isn't anything bad, I swear. Just wanted to get to know one of my students," he said. Izuku was confused. Before he nodded and left the room with him without another word. The two were outside soon after, the Dragon King looking at him confused. "So, what do you want to know?" he asked. "Actually, this is something different," All Might said. Izuku looked at him confused. The number one hero then sighed. "I have an offer for you," he said. "What?" Izuku said, confused. "I want you to be my successor as the symbol of peace," All Might said. Izuku looked at him confused and shocked, while the number one hero looked at him with a stoic look.